Live.
Yep. Is there going to just be like a new wig every week? I feel like there's like a trend here now. Hello and welcome to Griefers Pub. Tonight we're going to be revisiting a topic which we had last spring from an episode called "Is CIG Griefing the Griefers?" And joining us tonight we have Sfer as we discuss problems with CIG's moderation. Welcome, Sfer. How's your extended vacation from Star Citizen going so far?
Well, it just started, so we'll see how it goes for the next 25 days more plus.
Okay. So why okay, 20 days plus what exactly happened? Can you kind of explain that? Just kind of interested.
Yeah, so as a lot of people are aware, GrieferNet specializes in causing terrorism throughout Stanton, and so we go after people's events via various methods, but generally infiltration is our go-to, so that we have the intel available to do that sort of stuff. One of our latest hit, well, not our latest one, uh, the not this last weekend, but the weekend before.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so not this weekend, but the weekend before. We hit a racing event hosted by Onzia Racing, and then after I think like 2 days ago, we got landed with suspensions. And it was suspensions for everybody involved. So almost everybody involved, except for like one or two cases that got lucky. Which is around like 28 people
I
got
was going to
slapped with
say,
a
like
30-day
some of
ban with
these.
30-day
So we were
suspension.
talking about this a little bit the other day. Some of these were first time offenders too. It wasn't necessarily
Vast
people that had been
majority of them
involved.
were first time offenders.
Hmm. It's interesting. So you, where was the event happening? Like, I just want a little bit more info on this. Like, it was a race,
So
obviously. They had security, right? They had
yeah,
no
so
security or security.
say that again.
Do they have no security or security?
Well, if you've seen Heavy
The
Bob's
laugh.
meme about if you've seen Heavy Bob's meme about no security, they had a little bit of
Yeah,
both
I have.
turned
I
Sure,
have.
they
out.
Yep.
had security.
Yeah. No,
But yeah,
so they actually ended up having a lot more security than what was originally planned because Spec Sniper's first squadron group got added to the mix, which we didn't foresee. But so they had about 10, 12 racers, and then the rest were security, and that was about 30 to 32, and they had 44 people in total, give or take one or two, and we had
that's wild.
28 people. So yeah, and the racing event was focused around Miner's Lament. They were like carting some beer crate or something around the racing track, like a rally race or something.
Okay.
And so we arrived uninvited to their to Miner's Lament.
Okay. So Miner's Lament is right next to where? Just curious.
That's
Is that
Grim
right next to
Hex.
Hex?
Yeah, it's a good neighborhood.
I was going to say that seems like an odd choice. Why not? Okay, so it's Miner's Lament. Why not just host something like that in AC? Because I know that we have that map already.
Probably because of the probably because of the limit, maybe. But I don't
That
know if
might
they
be it.
had
Yeah.
12, if they have 10, 12 racers. I don't know why they couldn't just. I think isn't there like a 16-player cap for that?
Yep.
Oh,
16.
you know what? You know what? It's because of the beer crates. They wanted to do the beer thing.
That the whole thing was to like tractor it, or I don't necessarily understand. It sounds like a
I
weird
I mean, I don't
like
really fully
objective.
understand the
Yeah,
full
it's okay.
scope
You
of
were
their
just there
objective
to
either. I just know that there was some beer
crash a parade.
crates scattered throughout the racing track, and they wanted to pick it up or something and take it back to Grimhex.
So I'm guessing Griefernet was just trying to get beer. Is that the role play that you guys were trying to get against
No,
it? Like, what's
I
going
think
on?
Yeah.
I
It
think
must have been pretty damn good
we were
beer if that's
already
the
a
case.
little inebriated by the time we got there. I feel like.
Okay. All right. So it's a 30-day ban for this kind of stuff. That's kind of wild. Is
Yeah.
this the first time that you have had that long of a
No.
prison sentence, or what would you?
So yeah, I mean, you guys see the screen up on the stream right now, the band timeline. So I just
Let's
want to
actually
run
bring
through
that
it.
up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to
Switch.
run through it real quick. So
Mm-hmm.
GrieferNet has had two major um, quote unquote event disruption bans by CIG. One of them being in January, and then 31 operations later, one just now in August. So um, a lot of people are already aware of the experience stuff,
Yep.
and not as many people got slapped with a ban that on that time, but we didn't have as many players then. But it was like 8 players or so were suspended, and the duration was only 7 days. Um, and then for the Onzia, it was 28 players, and the
Okay,
duration was 30 days.
can I like jump on that? So you had 8 players suspended,
Yep.
duration 7 days. 2 players suspended, stayed at their station. So 2 players were suspended that weren't even a part of it, right? And what was the? Am I jumping ahead here? What was the reasoning for suspending you guys for the experience? If we could kind of like to start, like,
Excessive griefing.
okay,
It was when they first pushed out the a new policy, the event disruption policy, um, where they are now punishing players for sufficiently disrupting player events.
okay, but they pushed that policy after they had
Like
banned you at the
post,
experience.
right?
Is that correct? That was post the event.
Actually, actually, not quite. They did give us a warning. Can I just fast forward for a second? There's like a
Yeah,
Of
that's
timeline.
fine.
course. Yeah, of course.
Okay. So here's the experience, right? So there's a bit of a timeline, and there's a bit of confusion as well. So like the first attack was on January 13th. We actually um uh crashed 2 events that day, 2 large events that day, and that was the experience and then TTO's 80-player event. It was like some OM around ArcCorp, and we just came in with like 20 people, um, and fucked them up. But then and then I think like a week later, let me back up for a second. So the experience had 3 cruises. We crashed 2 of them, and then one of them we just let go. One of them, it was in the so the one that they did on January 21st was the one
Yep.
that they rescheduled after we hit the first one on the January 13th, and they did that one successfully. And I think one of your previous guests was on that. What was her name?
Oh, expat brat. Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Expat Brat was
she was
there
talking
for the
about that.
21st relaunch of their event. Pretty sure.
Hmm.
Um, but then on the 20th, we hit the Daymar Rally. We say quote unquote hit. They run like 10 servers at the same time. Um, we hit one of the servers.
Wait, how many
um,
servers? Like they
they
so they have multiple servers that are being used.
yeah, yeah, they
Okay.
use like they just do like 10 different servers. But yeah,
Oh,
we spent like 6 hours or like 6 or 7 or 8 hours trying to hit the Daymar event or one of the
all right,
mini
but when
servers.
you look at the Daemon rally, we're looking at something that's like way in the past, right? That's like,
Yeah, well, it's on January 20th, so that was the event that we hit a week
yeah,
after the first experience.
okay. And there's
Okay.
no bans due
Uh,
to that.
no bans. No, we haven't gotten a ban yet. Okay, throughout this
Okay.
whole process from January 13th up to January 24th. January 24th is when we received where's the warning that they gave us? This warning right here.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay, and
Where
this
of
was
the events this
Dracadius,
weekend?
and he was
Vision of Star
messaging
Citizen
us
as a sandbox.
um,
Time and effort.
about letting us know that they have updated their policy and that now there is um,
Oh,
they're going to
okay.
punish people for disrupting large events now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got that warning after the Daymar rally hit, right? So if I go back to the timeline, we got that after the Daymar rally. The issue is
Can
they
you
didn't give us
actually?
any.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Can
Yeah,
you jump back to that last screen?
yeah,
I
sure.
just want to read a couple of the highlights there. All right, so it's important to note that many of the player driven events encourage PvP scenarios, and we do love to see that type of emergent gameplay when it arises. But there's another layer that is often labeled as quote unquote piracy, when in reality, it's just a relentless pursuit to disrupt other players' fun. Okay, I see that. And then we have highlight here. It says major disruptions on large scale events will need to stop. So that's them like officially saying you guys can't be disrupting major player events.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
And
the issue
now,
with this.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
vague.
go ahead. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's super vague, and that's the core issue we've been having with CIG. This like for God since January. since they started being more draconian with putting out punishments for hitting events, right? So, like, what do you mean by disruption? Like, at
Yeah.
what point does something what at what point does PvP become
Major
a disruption?
disruptions,
At what
though. I
point
mean,
does an event become a large event? You know?
well, I mean,
Yeah.
you
The
guys.
timing.
Okay, so Sfer, you're really intelligent on this, and I feel like you guys do a lot of your homework, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that the experience is going to be like a large scale event, it has a ton of streamers on it. You kind of, I feel like this is kind of one of those like fuck around and find out equations. It feels like that, right? Like you guys did a lot of homework on this. Is it a large scale event? I don't know. That's a good question. What defines the large scale event? That's the issue,
That well, yeah, that's the question, right? Because it's the
right?
it's so vague. It's like, oh, well, it's left open for interpretation. How
Yeah, and
does CIG
I'm not gonna
interpret that?
stop. Yeah, I'm not gonna stop the entire premise of my org. I'm like, okay, guys, guess we can't play anymore. Guess we can't do the thing we're all here to do anymore.
Hmm.
Like they've given us nothing. They've given us nothing to work with.
Well,
You know?
when we had that cast, I don't know how long ago now, with Sill, that kind of
Right.
addressed that, because we had the Spectrum post, right? Well, Sill wrote up a Spectrum post because it was concerned about what qualifies, because this is too vague for us, and we want to make sure that the PvP community as a whole is safe, right? Because can somebody just stand up and scream, "Oh, it was an event," and then stop mass reporting? And well, we'll get into all that, but yeah,
Yeah.
we had a whole
I
thing
Yeah.
with it.
wanna. Yeah, I wanna go back to that timeline too,
Let's go
and
to the timeline.
I
Yeah.
wanna kind of illustrate as to why we didn't feel like we still felt it was okay to hit the experience the second time. Because they give us the warning after on the 24th, after we hit the Daymar Rally. The Daymar Rally is like magnitudes larger of an event than the
Yeah,
experience is.
well, yeah, and I would argue too with the Daymar Rally, if it's taking up
Okay.
that much
So
that many
you
servers,
got
it would be hard to avoid, like, you don't even have to server hop to probably end up on one of the servers, right? I mean,
So did the warning come after the Daymar Rally event or before? Just to
After
avoid after.
after the
Okay, okay,
Daymar
okay.
Rally hit. But
All
after the
right.
Daymar Rally and before the second experience hit was when the warning came out.
Okay.
So
Do you think it's
we had no idea as to
because
what that warning was referencing. We thought it was the Daymar Rally.
okay. Do you
So
think because I know that there is a content creator program with CIG through their marketing, do you think that created like a conflict of interest or more of a complicated situation because they have all these like faces, on that flight? Do you think that kind of created that whole situation in the first place?
I mean, maybe, but they don't really like we had like I guess we'll look at it later in the stream, but I have
Yeah, yeah,
communications
yeah.
from Dracadius explicitly telling us that it has nothing like a whether or not you get punished for disrupting an event has nothing to do of whether the event is sponsored by CIG or not. So
Okay.
yeah.
um like we literally do not have anything to work with. And like if CIG doesn't want us to hit an event, they need to clearly define what kind of events they don't want to be hit that they're using for like grassroots marketing. That
Mm-hmm.
way we
Okay.
know and can make an informed decision. Like there's just so many screenshots later in the stream that I'll show you, but one of them in that they says, Xylo and Dracadius they both tell us, "Oh, use your best judgment. Use your
Sorry.
best judgment when deciding to hit an event, and that way you won't get banned." And I'm like, well, we can't use our best judgment if you don't tell us anything about any criteria about what events are prohibited,
So
you
what
know?
you're asking for is, it sounds more or less like CAG needs to step up and define what those events need to look like, whether it be
Yeah,
like a
or
criteria with like numbers or if it's a certain audience. I don't know how that would even work. That's
yeah, they need to
complicated.
define that, or they need to facilitate a safe space for these unique events, like a private server, for instance.
Okay.
I mean, I have a bit of fear with how they might define that, because at this point, although I know we're basing this off of GrieferNet and the reputation that GrieferNet has, right? At this point, it's like any any event that's hit, we'll automatically assume there's some sort of stream sniping and you're disrupting a major event.
Is going to
Now,
occur. Right.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
now I think it's probably pretty apparent that there's some reputation that's actually affecting that's causing these bans to be handed out so, carelessly, right?
Yeah.
But still, I mean, if, and we talked about this yesterday. So if Grim 42 is on a server where there's some sort of event going on, we don't follow events, but if we see that there's a major thing going on in the server, and think about when meshing comes, we see something major going on, we're not gonna be like, oh, let's like be nice and let them do their thing. Like, no, we're gonna we're gonna have at it, regardless of how you feel about it, right? And if there's security there, that's their job to stop it. If we're on meshing, the chances of that being a thing where we run across that is going to be much higher.
I mean, we could talk about. Let's talk about security for a second, okay? So that the Onzia event, right? So they had 32 security. Let's go back to that real quick. So they had Vex Obscurum, Spectre Security Contracting. They had First Squadron, Nightingale, Ragtag Mercs, and this little org called Vertin and Intergalactic. Okay, they had like 5 different security orgs.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point of hiring security orgs if you're gonna mass report the people that you hired the security orgs to deal with anyway? Because that's the only way I see this.
Well,
This
what
this
was
could
it
have
you were
happened
saying
is
that
if
the
they had
security
before.
org was saying how they should treat the security was, oh, if you see Griffin on the server, we all have to switch servers. That's the
Oh yeah,
security.
so
I mean, that is a countermeasure, though, regardless,
I
right?
did
If
tell
you
you
really
we
think about
have
it.
I did tell you we have audio of like their security
We're
debriefing
not going to
after the
share that,
fact.
though. Yeah, we won't share that, though.
Yeah, I'm not gonna share. I'm not gonna share that. But
Okay.
yeah, and then yeah, one of the people in that meeting was like, well, the best way to deal with griefer is just to hop servers. Like that's fine. I don't really care if people do that. That's just using the game to using what's available, right? If the game allows you to hop servers, there's different
Yeah,
servers,
because we
whatever.
are playing like an unpolished alpha. There are so many options to avoid said situations, and that makes
Yeah,
sense. I get that.
yeah. It's the
Um,
mass reporting that I have contention with. Why are you hiring? Is this like for the guys that are running the security out there? And if you guys are in, or if you guys are in the stream chat right now, like, is this what you are now? You're like, are you there to pew pew the bad guys, or are you just
so
there to do the paperwork and just write down the
So
names and then submit to CIG and mass report?
I mean, think about the number of people that you attacked in the first place, though. You're attacking what, 44 people? That's 44 reports potentially there, and that's a
Mhm.
Yeah.
lot of like spam into the same system. If they're all struck, I mean that. I don't know. That's like saying mass reporting with the experience doesn't make any sense when there was what, like 30, 40. I don't know how many people were actually involved in that, but
Oh, the
it
experience
seems
had
like
like
those
I
numbers
had a
what.
similar amount of people. I think there was like 30 something,
Yeah.
30, 40
Well,
people
well,
involved in it too.
yeah, but here's the other thing. CIG's aware that they have weaponized the reporting system. Like it's not like a secret. Like they know that's a thing that they're doing, right? They have
Yeah.
what was it you were saying? They have like keywords, right? That they have to make sure that's on the reports, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. Let's hold on. Let's
We can
stop there
bring
for a
that up
second.
really
Put a
quick.
pin in that. I want to show
Yep,
you.
let's do that.
So you're referencing that, right? So the experience, the people who organized the experience,
yeah.
after that had happened, they sent out an announcement to the rest of their community, um, like giving them like a template of a
Oh,
report.
buzzwords. There it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then someone who I don't know who the someone was, but someone told them to include a bunch of buzzwords to make it to where the report is taken more seriously. So
Mm-hmm.
like clearly the report system is being abused, man.
Okay. And that's kind of why I wanted to jump on that, because I don't know if CIG is aware of this, but if there's no repercussion, you're encouraging this, right? So it's going to get worse because it's going to continue spreading throughout the PVE community, and they're going to say all we have to do is A, B, and C. Use these buzzwords, blah blah blah, right?
It
Get enough
creates
reports. Yeah,
It
it's
creates
in,
like a sense of entitlement almost.
yeah, and
That's the issue that I can
it's
see with that. Yeah.
encouraging people to continue doing this. And what that does is it further floods their reporting system. And that's going to create more issues for CIG. Like something like this needs to be discouraged. And if there's evidence of it happening and it's brought to CIG, there should be some repercussion for it. Same
Here's the
as
thing. Here's the thing, man. Like we're talking about how this is wrong. The CIG, it's not. Here, let me just fast forward. Okay, I got some more evidence for you. Give me 1 second. So, where is it? Right here. Okay. So this is fast forward past the experience, past the one of the this was after the one of y'all's episodes of Griefers Pub where you had Syl as a guest, and then
oh yeah, okay.
afterwards Xylo Dracadius and Will joined your community, and then they joined GrieferNet's like sister community Cogum Discord,
Okay.
and then they talked with us for a bit, and we were asking them questions, and I blatantly asked them like, hey guys, is intentionally flooding your ticket queue for a single issue against the TOS. And as you can see out here outlined in red, I will. Um, it is not against the TOS. Flooding the ticket queue is not against the TOS. So it just
Why
seems like
not?
this is.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, I
Good
don't know.
question.
I mean, is
feels
that
like
wrong? To think that
no, because it
purposely
does feel like
abusing the system is wrong.
I was going to say it feels like an abuse of like a dedicated system that could be used for something else. In fact, I'm a little bit surprised that like CIG hasn't created like an integrated report system. Like we're still relying on what Spectrum at this point. I think that's an issue, right?
Well,
It doesn't make any sense.
fear about an
Hmm.
embedded report system too. Like, what are they
Yeah,
gonna like? We want to cut down on manpower to deal with these reports, right? But like, so what are they gonna do? They're gonna put an automated system in. That just
okay.
sounds dystopic to me, to be honest. To put in an automated system, it's like after a certain threshold is met, then just automatic penalties are dished out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
So what could be done to prevent like mass reports? I
I think
mean, it would have to
ideally,
be like part of like code of conduct at that point, right?
Well, I would think that. I'm sorry. Go
But
ahead,
again,
sir.
how
Actually,
do you deal with like a situation where you guys strike an event and then everybody, maybe there was stream sniping, I don't know, that's one of those weird things that's really hard to prove in like reports unless someone is continuously like following someone on the server or
I don't
server
think it's that
hopping from
hard to
like point A to
prove. I
point B.
think like one of the things is that if the reports all follow a specific pattern and they all come in all at the same time, I think that's pretty obvious,
well, here
right?
let me bite back on that a bit, okay?
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
So
that's right.
here's what Xylo said in y'all's stream chat during that episode with
Yeah.
Still.
I remember that.
I outlined, infiltration, and this isn't the first time they've said this to us. Infiltration is a viable playstyle. In fact, they have infiltration as one of the categories you can select as like something that you can label a new org when you create an org. It's like a
Yeah.
list of categories that you can select, kind of label your org. And
Yeah.
infiltration is one of them. Okay,
Yeah. And
Is
so
this okay? So,
if y'all
but
want to,
is this on the like Robert Space Industries like web pages? Is it
yeah,
under like an official document? Where would that be? That would be under the. Is that
it's
under
when you're
sales?
it's when you're creating your org,
Oh, you're
as
talking
far
about
as
the
I know.
subsection, but they
yeah,
should.
but here's the thing too is they can't be like, oh, well, we mean infiltration. That's not through meta gaming because there's no internal like
There's no systems
mechanics.
to
There's
actually
no
use that,
systems
right?
in the game, and the only way that you could possibly do any type of infiltration has to be through Discord because literally
Yeah,
Discord
it's where the
drives
information
orgs and
is.
everything. Yeah.
That's where the information is, and that's going to remain true even if they do put in in-game systems, because people are not going to like, okay, they implemented org chat in game. Let's stop using Discord. That's not how that's going to
It's
work.
not going to happen because it's not streamlined enough. It's not
Yeah,
integrated into like
No.
Moby classes. Even
yeah,
then, it's going to be clunky as hell.
but yeah,
Yeah.
let me circle back around and
It,
tell you
it,
why
it,
I want to
Before
bite
before
back
we
at
do
what
that,
you.
I just want to
Sorry.
say I wish that something like this was posted on like one of the Spectrum pages from like an official mod because I don't know if like say a Twitch message holds a lot of merit. That's the issue that I see with this. it's in a weird spot that, you know, this is under someone's personal account on Twitch. That doesn't necessarily mean that that is CIG's, you know, thoughts on the whole, like, you know,
I mean,
gameplay is a
it's on their
viable
official
playstyle.
RSI site.
If we're talking about like the subsections for creating the orgs,
Yeah.
espionage. Oh yeah, you know what? Actually, I didn't see the espionage. I saw infiltration. I was thinking more like busting into ships and stuff like that. But it is kind of curious how that's going to look when the game is a little bit more like fleshed out. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and you have to
Yeah.
consider this too. Like, even when the game is more fleshed out, it's hard to pull people out of something they've used for so long in the creation of the game, where if they go live, people aren't just going to switch over to whatever internal programs they use for the game now, right? Because we're all accustomed to this whole Discord. Like, we have PFPs designed for the org through Discord, right? It's so you're not going to be able to just tear everybody away from Discord completely anyway, right? That people are going to continue doing their event planning through it and stuff like that. So it's not as if that would suddenly change overnight.
Yeah, but like,
Okay.
so if you guys want to talk about reputation, I'm like, oh well, you know, Griefernet has a reputation of stream sniping. We have a reputation of infiltrating as well. You know,
Yeah.
like what?
Well, you have a reputation of pissing people off.
Does Griefernet
Well,
stream
that's just the
snipe?
result
That's
of
maybe my
PvPing
question for
people
you,
who don't want to
Sfer.
be PvP'd.
But does
You know what I mean?
does Griefernet stream snipe as like a method of like tactic for like espionage?
For
And how
operations, no, there
for
have
operations?
been individuals who have stream sniped. Yes.
So how can we rely on that as like a viable playstyle if that's also against TOS? Because stream sniping has been listed under what that the excessive griefing post. It's not like the most. It's just as vague as everything else they posted, but it's more than, you know, a lot of things. I'll post that there. Oh,
If
give me a
somebody's
second.
caught, if they have evidence of stream sniping, like an individual stream sniping, we don't contest that at all. So
Yeah, I
like,
gotcha.
but in terms of infiltration and espionage, which is allowed, like
And it should be. I mean, I don't.
what happens when you infiltrate? Let's talk about this for a second and how
Yeah.
similar it can look like to stream sniping. Okay,
Mhm.
when you're infiltrating, you know where they're gonna be, what time it's gonna happen, what server, what like you know when they're, you know the exact moment that they go onto the server. Okay, you know everything. You don't need to stream snipe. You don't need to leverage streams. We
Okay.
like so it's like they're okay with infiltration, but they're not okay with the results of infiltration.
Well, I mean, from what I can tell, I don't know. From what I can tell, it's just not okay with you guys doing any any of your. I mean,
They're just they're just like stop, just stop it, just
yeah.
stop.
I mean, they just want you guys to
Just don't
completely
play the
stop
game is what they're
doing
trying
it.
to say.
And you know what? I would be willing to bet that part of the reason why they're so, I mean, they're so tough on you guys is partially because of the flood of reports they're getting. And I think that problem comes from encouraging that through just, I mean, it's like, oh, it's okay that you guys are abusing that system. So it's making it worse, and they're blaming you for that. Now, yeah, I don't know. So I mean, I think that's part of the problem.
I mean, when you say that, does that not seem just so wrong? Like, oh, you're breaking the rules when people are complain about you enough.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why the vagueness concerned all of us, because at some point, like I
Yep.
said, we're going to attack people or events or whatever's happening on server meshing, because
Exactly.
that's where there's something to do. And then on top of that, if more of the game is put together, what does that mean? You have a server with a ton of people in one location. We go in and hit them, and we have a ton of loot and stuff we can sell, right? So that's more encouraging. So who's to say we're not going to get mass reported when we don't do on our side, and a lot of PvP orgs, we don't do infiltration, we don't plan for event disruption, right? But are we just going to end up in the wrong place at the wrong time? And then is CIG going to be like, oh, mass reports, and where's the buzzwords? The buzzwords are there. We need to ban them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm
You
concerned.
know,
Yeah,
ideally, they need to be more hands off.
I agree.
I don't actually
Like
disagree with that.
period.
Yeah.
coming from like other sandbox games, the less activity that the devs have involved, more or less, most of the time it's better. You want to keep gameplay as organic as possible
Yeah.
when possible, right? Beyond the like cases of like say something happening in like global chat or someone spamming grief for net victory a few 100,000 times, right? Or like basic things like hacking, glitching, things that are game breaking, obviously.
Hmm.
But it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
What do you have here?
We've never gotten a suspension. We've never got suspensions for spamming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah. Well, make sure when you yell Griefernet victory over global chat, it's not in all in caps because that can be considered that I think that's against terms of service if I remember correctly. Using all caps to blot out the global chat. All right, I'm just
But I mean,
technicalities.
you see so many
Technicalities.
other groups do that. It's not just Griefernet that did it. It was it ITC a
well,
long time ago used to do that shit, like ITC victory. It was like a whole meme for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
well, they're bothered by it though too. Now they're bothered by the whole boasting and chat thing that we do. Look, Will says that he would rather us go into other people's discords to boast instead of just doing it in global chat. Like I don't know about you, but that seems a little bit more toxic than what we're doing currently.
Yeah, because you're going directly to like the person's personal
Yeah.
area and
So I don't know.
specifically targeting them with comments.
Yeah, I don't know about that take there, Will. To be honest.
Okay. Before we move on to like the mass reporting and talking about that, something that I noticed with especially this title is there seems to be a lack of anonymity for players that are on certain servers. Every time you hop into the server, the first thing you can do is open up a Glass, and your tools are all right there. There's no option to go like redacted or offline for your like character,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's no way to like mask that. And I wonder if there, like, there's other games. I'm thinking New World. I'm thinking of Tarkov that allow you to redact that information to prevent players from finding you. Do you think that would be potentially like a way to
I
get
would
around that?
absolutely love more anonymity tools. Like we would love the member list to just be nuked and,
Yeah, but
and
it
only
Yeah.
people
doesn't
show up on the member list
it doesn't
if
I think
under
the
certain circumstances.
I think the reason why they don't necessarily do something like that is because they intend on us all pretty much being meshed together anyway. So that's like a temporary solution, but long term we're supposed to be all together anyway. Right? So like right? I mean, why would CIG spend probably like 5 years in development trying to create anonymity tools for a mechanic that's not supposed to be there?
Well, let's take Eve Online into the mix then, because
Hmm.
they
Yep.
have like a local chat to like we're gonna have multiple systems, right? So
Yeah,
like there's
that should be a thing. Yeah,
people are
That
like
should
you
be
can't
the
view people in nullsec unless they talk. Same thing with
right.
wormhole space. You
yeah,
know, um,
Having like a segmented chat like that for servers when server meshing is implemented is actually going to be crucial. Otherwise, it's just going to be a wall of text going, at like mock Jesus the entire
yeah,
time.
100%.
yeah.
And people are going to figure out where you're at by listening to that chatter. If there was a way to localize it to even like systems or like parts of the star system, like one for Microtech, one for Area T, and just kind of localize it like that, that might help. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like some ideas instead of just getting stuck on it. But we were moving on to the mass reporting. Let's talk more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the mass reports, why is it reasonable to give first time offenders 30 days? Let's talk about that first. Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Okay. The Onzia incident
So you're
is just
talking about the first time offenders in your org that got banned this time, and it's like their first time being a part of something like
Without
this.
well,
saying names, how many first time offenders actually were struck with the 30 days? Like a
uh,
rough estimate.
I would say, shoot, I didn't really do a count on that. Maybe like between 15, like probably around 15 people.
Oh, so
Okay.
Yeah.
15 people. Okay.
Are they all okay? So just for keeping some kind of like order here, were they all listed as GrieferNet organization personnel, or was it
No,
multiple parties from like
no, we're part of we're part of an alliance, and not
alliance?
everybody.
Okay, that's what I was
Yeah.
wondering. Okay,
Can I just jump on? So one of the comments said there's an assumption that Enzia was a mass report event, but I can attest there was never any such call to mass report. Now, are we? I don't think anybody mentioned that this specifically was a mass report, though, right? I mean, we talked about mass reporting.
I said it was a mass report because they have an
Yep, Sfer
unlisted video that I have access to where
Hmm.
they're sharing screenshots of all the people on the server and then saying, "Okay, gonna submit this for evidence."
I see. Okay,
So
so it was.
yeah, as far as
Okay,
I'm concerned, it was.
and then how?
Maybe that individual wasn't aware of it.
And do we have a way of? Yeah, maybe they weren't. And do we have a way of knowing like how many or roughly how many would have been a part of that mass report?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I know one player individually who was responsible for compiling the quote unquote evidence. I
I
don't know.
see.
I don't know if I want to just out him right here, but
No, don't do that. Don't do it. I don't
And
think
what
yeah,
it's
was
necessary.
and what was the evidence? Like, what was it they were bringing as evidence? Was it evidence for
just our
stream
presence,
sniping
just
or?
us being there, just us being there was quote unquote evidence. They're like, oh, GrieferNet's here. Let's take a screenshot of the names, and then that's enough. That was enough for them to report.
But what were they reporting specifically? Like, what was the report for?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what they put in their report.
Yeah.
But we got hit with basically everything under the book, under the sun. We got hit with stream sniping,
Okay.
harassment, and excessive griefing. That was what was on every single one of our bans.
No chat spam this time.
Well, what the hell
We've never
qualifies
gotten
as
a
all right, what qualifies as excessive griefing? Because did
I
you
don't know.
guys kill them
I guess one
multiple
time.
times?
No, I guess one time is enough. One time is excessive because we've only hit Anzia once ever, and all we did was just sit at Miner's Lament and then let their security come to us. That was all we did. And you can double check that with any security that's in the chat right now. Not a single one of us went to Grimhex where you guys were stationed for most of the fight.
Okay, so you didn't go like spawn camp basically,
Nope,
right? If you want to.
nope. We just stayed at
Okay.
Miner's Lament and let them come to us.
Yeah, I'm still curious why they didn't just server hop and reform. That would have been the best solution there.
Yeah,
The instance that they saw you, that should have been the first
they were
move.
having some skill issue with communication. So
I mean, if you're conscripting multiple security orgs, there's your first issue. Just get a large security like group that has a good amount of like personnel to actually cover security. Like good example, PAX would be a great one to like get in touch with if you need someone that
Okay, hold
puts up
on.
a good fight. Just saying, just
Yeah,
saying.
hold on though.
Get
Wait a
some
minute.
like proper PvPers
So,
if that's the case. You know what I mean?
can I make sure that we're clear on this? Griefanet is a part of Neighborhood Watch.
yes,
Is it possible for them to hire Neighborhood Watch as security? Is that
you can
something that?
you can GrieferNet doesn't do security. We can do you can pay us off to peace of mind
Okay.
if you want to run your event.
It's like
Texas
mod
DNet.
stuff. It's like
Um,
protection.
but
Pay for protection.
you can
Honestly,
communicate with the other orgs that are part of Neighborhoods Watch, and they have their own internal policies about what they would do and what they wouldn't.
Okay, fair point. So the reason why I'm asking that, right, is because one thing that we've continuously emphasized, right, was why are these people going to these random orgs that call themselves security orgs that are basically just RPing as PvP security players or something? I don't know if their intention is to secure from PvE PCs that make show up red, but like, why have we not seen once? I don't believe once any of them inquire about security from a PvP org, like an org that specifically PvPs, like exclusively,
I'll
right?
shout out I'll shout out one org that's done it before, and that was Paladins.
Yeah.
They
okay.
they hired a AVS, and that was a nasty fight. That was a tough fight.
Okay,
So
so would you say it was probably a lot better than what you've been seeing on these more recent ones?
yeah, I think we haven't had a tough fight of that magnitude since then, and that was sometime last year.
So was it effective
I mean, we still won our objective, but I would say it's a lot more effective
than what they're
than
doing
the
now?
circumstance with Anzia.
Because that,
So
I mean, that's okay. So it shows that there's some possibility to do that, right? Because from what
Look,
oh,
we're
go
kind of
ahead.
look. I don't want to get into the weeds about like how good a security team they look. I'm glad that they're hiring security in the first place. What my issue is that they're not. y- You're not. You're just submitting reports. These people are just submitting reports.
It's a security
You,
hog.
you don't
They're
hire
not.
a
They're
group
not.
for
You guys like they're
PvP
not
and then
playing the
report after
game.
the
They're
fact,
not playing the
right?
game.
If you're hiring a PvP org, you should just accept the fact that if you didn't do your job properly as a security org, you don't report. You just say good fight and move, the hell on at that point. That's honestly the move. Just
Yeah,
play the damn
I think
game.
it's wrong. It's wrong what these communities are doing, making people lose access to the game just because we're just playing the game. We're just PvPing. Is this
Um,
like to CIG? Is this a sandbox game or isn't it?
all right. I actually okay. I have another question. If you were to go there, mess with the event, right? It breaks up the event, and then they reset and start the event over. Would you show up again,
Our no, we don't.
or
Once we achieve
objectives complete?
objective complete, then we just that's it for the night
Okay, if
Okay.
that's the case, the experience, you had a completed objective the first time. Why strike it a second time?
because it was a separate event 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
So if
just
it's
wondering if it was like the same group doing the same thing again, or if it was
It was the
completely
same
separate.
org
Okay,
running
gotcha.
the type of event again, but it was like different like players who there was they had different passengers.
Yeah, I gotcha. So
It
it's
was the
not
same
quite the
org.
same experience. It's one had a torp, and how did the other one die? I forget. Was
Torp.
it both torps? Oh, never mind then. Okay.
Both torps. Yeah. One was a little bit better fired at minimum lock range. The other one was fucking 12 kilometers away. One of my
I've got
guys just
expat actually saying no, they didn't.
premature torped.
Same passengers is what I'm reading in chat. Are you sure about that?
I'm sure there
I'm
was
just
some overlap.
okay.
I'm sure
I'm just curious.
I don't know the entire roster list.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, when I meant like mission accomplished, and they
Mhm.
come back
Oh,
together,
as
I
in like
mean
the
within the
day of, the
same.
day of,
Yeah, like
the day
they
of. Gotcha.
continue their
Okay.
event. All right,
Yeah.
because that's what I would assume, right? Now I know obviously, like if I was creating an event and somebody came and stomped on it, yeah, I'd be pissed, right? I'd be pissed about the fact that somebody destroyed my event, and I also be pissed that I failed to stop it from getting destroyed, right? But I would pick
Yeah.
up the pieces and continue again. Now, if you were to continuously over and over again keep
Oops, my bad.
attacking that, right? That would be, I would consider excessive griefing, right? Because now it's like you're just completely preventing them from doing it like over
Within
and
the
over and
same
over again.
session, right? Within the
Yeah.
same session.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
that's why I asked that, because
We're
it's
in agreement
like,
with that.
yeah, so in okay, and then let's say in the situation that you have not fight or flight, what's the I'm sorry,
Any more rally?
the AMR rally, yes. Okay, so they have multiple servers that they're multiple servers they're on. Would you
Yeah, I'm doing
go,
this.
let's say, would you destroy one server, jump to another server, and then destroy their event on that server as well? Or would it be accomplished upon infiltrate or stopping that event on that server?
That's a little different, I feel like, because on every server there's entirely two different pools of players.
Okay. Now, would you feel that that could be classified as griefing, excessive griefing? Because if you end up on a separate server and then you go after the event again, you are specifically targeting that event multiple times, even if it's separate servers.
I mean, golly, man. I mean, they occupied 10
Hey,
servers.
yeah, I
Like,
know, I get
it
it,
would have
but
been hard to avoid it anyway. So if we were to are we just like the whole concept of like killing someone once and then that's it, you can't kill them anymore
yeah, I mean, I'm
in a
not
PvP
saying this
sandbox
should be
game.
like that, but I get like, I mean, I'm not, yeah. So if I'm out in the, in the verse and I run into the same person twice, obviously, and I'm killing them, I'm not gonna stop killing them. Hell, I already killed you once, so I'm just gonna leave you alone this time.
Yeah, no, nobody
But I
blinks
feel like
twice
this concept's different.
when you find the same person 3 times in the same session and kill them all 3 times. No one blinks twice about that. But then all of a sudden, people throw a big deal about killing killing one group 1 week and then killing them again 2 weeks later. Doesn't make any
Yes,
sense.
yeah,
to me.
but I feel like I mean I agree that's different. All right, I mean it's two separate occurrences. Personally, I feel. Um, I don't know. I mean,
In the case of Daymar Rally, I don't think it would be. In my eyes, would be excessive griefing. It just if you were to swap servers over to like an entirely different player pool.
yeah.
But
Well, the
that's
thing
not what
is,
happened though. Like we
yeah,
just hit one server and that was it.
yeah, okay. I mean, the thing is too. I mean, still, I kind of like jumping back on the fact that it's going at some point, hopefully soon. Meshing is supposed to be a thing anyway, and there's no longer they're no longer going to be able to say, oh, well, you jumped servers to follow these people around. No, because from my understanding, part of the mechanics that they want is that we can track down people for whatever reason, and attack them. I mean, that's like an open mechanic, and I understand the whole in-game mechanics and all this stuff, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, whatever. It's there's just a whole lot of gray. It's like I think really what it really comes down to with you guys, though, personally, is really just reputation. Like you guys have been, as Griefernet, you guys have been pissing people off for a long time.
How long has Griefernet been an org?
I want to say
I think it's been a long time
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's only since this January has it become a big problem.
Okay. In previous years, did you guys ever experience like mass ban waves or anything like that, or is it just recently this is like a new trend?
Yeah. And last year we had the same sort of like volume of event crashes as we do this year.
Okay.
So, in terms of like how many per week we do.
Yeah. I just want to read this highlight. The experience was mismanaged to an extreme. They allowed a person to get on board the ship and took no steps to remove that person from the ship before leaving without some of their passengers, and allowing the ship to get torped. I mean, that was mismanaged. That was pretty bad. A torp moves
So
slow.
is that the one time that the C8R was on the side of the
that was
890?
it.
So that's also a game issue, because that is the 890 unable to lock. That's a bug. It's not supposed to be like that for the docking ports. Same thing with like the reclaimers. Anybody can access that
unable
top.
to lock?
You can't lock those doors.
Oh, the door. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Those doors, like that is an exploitable thing on that ship, and a few other ships are like that actually. So any board, like they unlock the whole ship. No, what I'm saying is I have done the same thing multiple times. Like popped into an 890, ran down the side at like any spaceport. It was locked, and then you can just gain access. There is no lock for those systems.
Yeah.
They
but
need
there
to
wasn't
fix
any
that.
sort of like weird fishy thing you had to do. All you had to do was just
Of course not. That's just how the ship is at the moment, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an exploit, but it is one of the problems that led up to that situation.
Yeah, it's squarely in the court of CIG's responsibility to address stuff
right, of
like
course.
that.
Yeah.
So
it is. They really just need to get their that's one of the challenges that I'm sure they face with trying to maintain rules in like an ever-changing environment, and it's super unpolished. Not everything's gold standard. I know that, and I'm not saying it is Griefernet's fault by any means. It's just that is a CIG issue. They need to fix their shit.
And that's the thing too. Like, it's CIG's issue. Like the amount of damage a torpedo does, it's CIG's issue. The amount of devastation that an A2 can incur, that's a CIG issue. Why is that a player problem? In fact, let me go forward a bit.
Is it exploiting a bug though if someone knows that the door is unlocked and uses that opportunity to gain access to a ship? That's what I'm wondering.
That's a stretch in my eyes, man.
I mean, I gotta say, honestly, I definitely do agree that CIG's issue, like a lot of this is because it's not, I mean, I'm sorry, but it's not our fault that it's been 12 years and none of these systems are in place to prevent any of this. And that we're still working on things like a box sitting in the middle of wherever on Daymar for the next 30 years for persistence sake. Right? I mean, not to be super critical, but like, where are we at here? Like, you guys have had ample amount of time to set up some of these damn systems. Where are they at? Like, what's going on? Right?
Yeah,
because a lot of us are waiting to play the damn game. Like, come on.
Let me say this for a second, okay? Look at
Mhm.
where
Yep.
Xylo says in his response to Sill's post. They have issues where they weigh how many like if you bring too many A2s, it could potentially be bannable. How are we supposed to make a sound judgment when you don't like specify anything? Like, what do you mean? How many A2s does it take for something to be quote unquote disruptive to the point that you issue out suspensions? Like, that's crazy to me, man.
Yeah, I mean, where's the systems? Like, like I don't know. I mean,
And
it's
they're constantly
Yep.
saying, "Oh, we encourage PvP solutions to an in-game conflict. We support organic PvP. We don't want to police PvP." But when Griefernet shows up to crash to PvP these events, suddenly it's a problem. Like, they, look, here's my conversation with Xylo. Okay, he repeats everything that he's saying in that post to the point until it's like, listen, if it was me, just reach out to these communities and pretty much just ask permission. Ask permission before you do that. That way there's not a problem. That's not an open world PvP sandbox.
yeah. I hate to. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah. That's all good.
it looks like one of the mods banned or locked out Shankers, who was gifting us subs. So can we reverse that? Why would that be a thing? So can we please reverse that? Shankers has been nothing but supportive. Like, he should not
Yeah. I
be
don't know what's going on there.
rejected
Let
from
me
the
double check.
chat. Yeah, like, what's
Okay.
that about?
We're
What the
here talking
hell?
about moderation issues with CIG. And
I
it's
know,
happening.
right? We don't, and we do. And honestly, with our chat,
It's not
like,
banned.
hey, we take criticism here. I don't even know why that's happening. Like, yeah, free Shankers. Like, moderation is definitely not my thing, except for copy pastas, because I hate those damn things.
Okay. So it shows that he isn't banned. I don't know what's going on.
Well,
there.
he's saying
But-
that it just says that he's disconnected from chat and he can't reply at all. So, yeah.
See if he has the same issue on mobile, and then
freedom of speech.
report
Elder
back.
Musk. All right. Well, all right. If that's not, maybe it's.
I
it could be
already,
on his end.
yeah, I would just refresh because I did check the ban list. He's not on there. There's no
Okay.
reason it should have happened.
Okay, weird.
All right.
Anyways, back
Sorry
on
to
subject.
interrupt.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. I forgot what I was gonna say. I had something.
Don't tread on me. Sorry. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
done.
no, I was talking about how Xylo wants us to reach out to people and like ask permission. Like, that's not an open world PvP sandbox. Why do I need to go out and ask somebody if I want to PvP their event
Yeah,
or
no,
not?
not at all. And honestly, all of their, like, okay, anytime I get an ad, it will show like cargo runners and then war, right? And people
Guns.
fighting
Like, that's
for
an
cargo.
expectation.
Like, yeah, it's like you go into that game expecting a fight. And then the other argument I had
Literally have
too.
cinematics of pirates coming up to
Yeah.
fuck up an 890. You know, like
Yeah. And if they want you to literally like have a reason other than just disrupting an event, make there a working economy where you can actually like you actually need to make money, right? I mean, because right now the economy don't work. So like, how can you be like, oh, you need to be pirating for what? For what? Like, what do I need money for?
Well, I'll bite back on that a little bit. It's like, why do we need a digital MacGuffin to do anything in the game? Like, couldn't like isn't just have like, just it doesn't we do it for fun? Is that not enough?
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
it's not for everybody. There's different mindsets. There's different people that want to earn money. You know, Bob's a good example where they want to.
I know, but in terms of like violating
Yeah, I know
the
what you mean.
TOS, though, is what I'm saying.
Right.
know?
So here was something that I was kind of curious about. Let me see if I can figure out my thoughts here. Just go ahead and say what you're saying, though. Forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yep.
Shoot.
can I just jump on that just so you guys know, anybody who's new here? Griefus Pub isn't a subsidiary of Griefernet or anything. We're actually a separate entity. All right, just to throw it out
What I
there.
should do is
So,
I should get like a little name tag for you that says "Hello, my name is Sfer." Just so we can keep that going because now we've got Chris Roberts, we've got Jake Acapella.
We
We've
need
got
like
Burks, everybody,
yeah,
you know,
but we need like a
everyone's Griefernet,
disclaimer
apparently.
when somebody comes into the chat or whatever that says
You guys
this
kind of
is
shot
not.
yourself in the foot by naming it Griefers Pub, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah,
Where's my
because
royalty
we've had
check?
people, yeah, we've had people come in and be like, "Is this part of Griefernet?" And we're like, "No, we're not at all." It's just the joke is you're a PvP or you're considered a griefer amongst many. And it's funny too because by the way, what's his name? Z was posting this on Reddit, and they just constantly removed his post and downvoted the shit out of it. So it just like Reddit, like Griefer's Pub, no, get it out of here.
That
All right,
isn't
anyway,
just like from those posts. I mean, I feel like that's most PvP related topics
it
that
is, yeah.
get posted that aren't like,
They
negative
don't like it,
by,
yeah.
yep, exactly.
They don't like it.
Yeah.
It's the
So
same
look,
thing with one of the Facebook. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. So
Mhm.
here's a common through line through CIG when talking about moderation. It's it's very much to me. It seems like it's very much about short term like marketing optics. They didn't like the fact they were using the 890 jump as like a grassroots marketing thing. They didn't like the fact that it didn't go exactly the way they wanted it to go. You know, um, anything like it says right here is Xylo. It's like you're being targeted because the events that you're hitting are being broadcasted, just tend to be broadcasted. And let me comment on that a little bit. I don't think CIG understands how prevalent streamers are in modern gaming right now. It's crazy. Look, we're a
Yeah.
large group. We're a large group. So when I'm scheduling events for my community, I'm targeting things that have either like an equitable or slightly more like predicted turnout on the other end. Because I'm not going to drop 30 dudes on like 5 goobers in their mold just having like a mining Monday. It's a waste of our time, you know? Um,
Hmm.
Mining Monday. Is that a thing?
It
yes.
is a
I'm
thing,
sure
yeah.
it
It
is.
is.
But no,
It
we're
is
not
actually a
doing
thing.
that. We're going after these large, these as large events as we can, and those large events, for whatever reason, for spectacle, for just people, there's more people that are talking about it, and it spreads throughout the communities, and streamers like, oh, I want to participate. This is gonna be fun and boost my viewership maybe, and it's gonna be an entertaining piece of content for me to stream. And so
This
like
actually, yeah.
disproportionately, these large events just tend to have streamers. That's just the reality of the situation. And it's like
So I
it's
do
not
have a
fair to
question though
us that
here
any
that
PvP that
someone's
we want to do at the appropriate scale that makes sense for our community is being targeted because someone turned on a camera.
what about charity events? I know that you guys struck what is it called? Save the animals. Do you guys not like pets or like what is exactly up
we're
with
more,
GrieferNet on that end?
we're a bit more like cat people. We like cats a little bit more than
Okay,
dogs.
but why strike
How
a charity
how
event? That
ironic that
feels
is.
it
You
feels
guys
it
have a
feels
bunch
kind of
of
strange.
dog
I know. I've
Oh
seen
PFP
no,
like
boys.
we changed
Disc
our,
like
our
post his
motif is
dog.
orcs now, guys.
Oh yeah, I saw
What
that actually. Yeah, I was like, what the
what's
hell's
that?
going on over there? They don't.
Yeah, I
You
saw
guys
that.
don't use PFP borders. You just match up each other's PFPs with the same general
Yeah,
like theme.
like theme. Yeah, yeah. Look, like I know people are gonna get a little when they hear about us hitting a charity event.
What was the point
This
though?
is a
Like
video
I'm
game. Like
curious.
this isn't a platform for a charity. I don't really feel that bad about it.
Okay,
Okay,
but like
yeah.
what was the benefit for did you guys have any like purpose behind that or was it just
It was just a
because
large event. It
shits
was
and giggles?
content. It was a large event, and it made sense, and it lined up with our schedule,
I
and
mean,
it
I
was
to be
content.
honest, I think Griefernet is probably having more fun than anybody else in this freaking game right now. Because like honestly, most of us are all bored to death.
People play
And we
this
are
game?
having the most fun at everybody, bro. And I dare anyone to tell me differently, bro.
The game isn't fun right now.
And
You
I wish
if you
CIG
guys
would
want
see
to
that.
Yeah, if you guys want to encourage CIG, I'm talking to you. If you want to encourage people to be doing more things, give us things to do and make it work, please. I'm sorry. I'm super
Actually,
salty.
that
You're
is kind
good.
of a that is an interesting take. Do you guys do what you do because there isn't a whole lot going on in the verse right now?
We're just lovers of
Or
emergent content. We're lovers of it. We,
okay.
we we don't like to set up play dates. It kills the fun for us. We don't.
So
We want.
So the whole thing with like setting up play dates feels inorganic. I don't like that. But I
Yep.
also like personal take joining on multiple servers to get onto the same server also feels kind of inorganic. That's a personal take. I like organic PvP when it happens and if it happens, but with starts, it's a little tough to even find action sometimes because nobody knows where anybody's at. There's
Yeah.
not enough players on like server. We're capped still at what 100 like players per server, so it's
Yeah.
hard to get that activity in the first place.
Yeah.
And
Like
there's like
people are
no
mad
tools
about.
for us to find. There's no like you said, no tools for us to find players. Like we're just sitting there with just kind of waiting for stuff to appear, like for someone to appear for us to PvP. You
Yeah.
know.
Like the fact that, like, for example, people get mad about like us attacking events, right? Because there's nowhere, we are not going to run into anybody anywhere else. Like we have nowhere to go, right? We had I'm sorry, what's his name now, Virgil came on as a call in. He mentioned about having one whole system specifically with nothing other than just like the PvP orgs can be in there. It's dangerous. Do you realize how busy we would be just fighting each other and trying to get, like, you want to keep us busy. We would much rather fight more challenge. I mean, I'm not talking for Grief in that, because the consensus is you guys are a bunch of assholes.
Okay, no wait, now hold on a second. Now hold on a second, guys. Look, we attack events that
Yeah.
are hittable. Okay, these y'all the PvP orcs don't really do the sorts of events that we can like show up uninvited and hit y'all all at one time. You know what I mean? Um, so that's kind of why it's skewed that way as to why we're hitting these quote unquote non PvP orgs more often than not, because those are the
Okay.
types of orgs that do the events that are hittable.
Before
Well,
we
yeah, and
keep
the other
talking,
thing is, if
we're
you
gonna
would
take
have,
a short break, guys, because we do have an ad that we should run really quick. We're at the top of the hour. I just don't want people missing any of the discussion. So let's go to standby really quick, and we'll
do
be
you want to
right
push
back.
an
Sorry to
ad?
cut you off there. Yeah, let's do
Alrighty.
that, and let's go to standby really quick.
All right.
Okay, welcome back, guys. We are going to shuffle back over to that media panel if we could. Elder, there was something that we were going to discuss just before we kind of shuffle over to the next topic here. So you were talking about event setup times, right, Sfer? Can we cover
Yeah,
that really
so
quick?
another thing that I found to be a theme with our communications with CIG is that one of the reasons that they are very sensitive about these large events being hit is because they they're saying to us, "Oh, these events take a quote unquote long time to organize." That
Yeah.
and so therefore that those events being able to go off without a hitch is a higher priority than our entitlement to participating in the open world PvP sandbox element of the game. And I just want to ask this to CIG. CIG, do you not think that there's any level of preparation or readiness or any level of organization that goes on with the criminal element of the game? You think we just like hop on and just like, oh, look, let's do this, guys, with no plan? And like, let me also say this, like, I have a screenshot. We don't really need to show it, but it's in the beginning of the PowerPoint. But it that's the experience guys. They emailed CIG and was just saying like, oh, it took us 8 months to organize this event. 8 months. Oh,
I wonder
really?
if that's because of like IRL circumstances. Maybe not everybody on their team was available.
I
Makes you
look.
wonder.
It didn't take every second of those 8 months, guys. Let's be real, okay?
I mean, it shouldn't.
Um, Yeah, what happened was they had the idea 8 months ago, and then
Yeah.
in total, they probably spent maybe, like, being generous, 8 hours of preparation, being very generous, okay?
Yeah.
Let me put this in perspective too, okay? The okay, let me back CIG, there is also a skill differential in terms of one group can have a can spend their time more effectively than another group. There is such a concept as one group being organized than another. As to why you guys are valuing how long it takes an event when you're weighing when to put out suspensions is beyond me. Here's an example. Our band waves just went out like 2 days ago, 30 minutes before when our next operation was supposed to go off. Okay, we had already prepped for the op. Like we had all our ships claimed, ready to go at our muster point. We had all our gear stocked in fucking SU crates that was even more of a pain thanks to y'all's inventory new inventory system with 324. Okay,
I'm
and
looking
we
at
had to
something here.
redo all that. We had to redo all that on alts. And we still, and even after bugs and like 30,009 errors, we had so many of those. Our Cutlass Red or our respawn point. And I got crashed the desktop. I had to claim the ship that already had the SCU on there after restocking with gear that we lost already. Like that was, and then it was gone again, so we had nothing, and we still managed to hit our target and finish our objective on time.
Looking at a comment here. Experience had recorded voice. Hang on, sorry. Voiceovers and
Oh, that's
time
bad.
music for each place they would visit and planet. So it looks like they were trying to put some kind of production value behind it, whether it be like a force script or whatever it might have been. I don't know.
Mhm.
But maybe that's what was taking all the time. Again, there's probably a lot more going on behind the scenes than we actually know. Like I'm thinking event preparation, one that comes to mind was when we were doing like the 5v5 tournaments and how much work that kind of took. It took a few weeks though, because we were pretty coordinated. So to some extent, it kind of feels like it's bad management and lack of, resources. I don't know what that would be.
But we're
Makes you
also
wonder.
you're setting the precedent that something takes like enough time to prep, it's just well, you're immune to the PvP element of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it
I don't.
certainly
I
shouldn't be
don't.
like
That shouldn't be
that.
the
I
case.
mean,
That shouldn't be the case at all. It
yeah.
should be like one MMO that comes to mind where PvP is always going to be around, aside from like the starter like area, would be like Mortal Online 2, where everything is like open world, and if you're like a trader, you could get killed any second. So I personally I like environments like that where anything can go wrong. Eve Online is
Yeah,
a really good example as well.
yeah.
I'd rather have organic settings like that as opposed to I don't mind the systems that we have where it's in spaceports and on planets, but everywhere else should be fair game.
Hold
As
on,
soon as
Yeah,
you're
no.
out of that hangar, it's like good luck. That's how it should be.
S-
yeah.
So
And
expat, no, not immune at all, but is what they are doing is organic. I mean, you can't. I'm sorry, I don't really. You can't have that take because infiltration again. I mean, what infiltration has to be organic? That doesn't really make sense to me. Like, I don't see something wrong about planning to. I understand
I
why
think
people will be upset by it. Again, it's not my style of gameplay specifically, but I
I think the
certainly,
issue is the lack of infiltration and espionage gameplay mechanics to allow proper
yeah.
systems to
I
exist
mean,
in game.
what other reason is
We're
there
kind
to
of like,
infiltrate?
going around into that again, but
Uh,
that's you
well,
can't
what
stop
other reason
metagame.
is there to
That's
do any infiltration to
how it is.
begin with, other than this? I mean, there's no resources. There's no nothing. Reputation doesn't mean anything. There's no economy. Like the game is seriously lacking.
yeah, expat, what you're saying is that you're like people aren't allowed to like basically plan. Like you're not PvPers aren't allowed to plan something. It has to be we like the only way in your eyes that that would have been an allowed situation is if we just happened upon the 890 by chance and then just quickly
Okay,
try to board it. You
can I
know,
ask you this, Sfer? So, first of all, is it Sfer or Sfer?
it's S capital fur to you.
Okay,
Okay.
Sfer. So let me ask you this. Okay, so if there is actual economy and supply chains that are necessary now. Let's say GrieferNet has a base or a need for keeping up with, I don't know, whatever, money or supplies for whatever reason. And, I don't know, PAX is building their base and they need supplies for it. Now,
Mhm.
would you start shifting some of your planning around infiltrating to find out where the supply chain is and ruining that, or infiltrating that and getting those, or ruining the supply chain? Like, would you shift towards doing those things also, or are you,
Or like
or is
base
there gonna?
raiding could be a
100%.
thing
That's
too.
the whole reason I helped found Neighborhood Watch.
Oh, okay, so
That's the whole reason
a big,
yeah,
I'm
is
sorry,
to is to let me hold on. Let me
yeah,
just finish this one
yeah,
thing.
go ahead.
So the whole
Sure.
reason
What's
I
up?
found Neighborhoods Watch is to like I'm hoping one day that we live in an environment where we can kind of cut out our own slice of sovereignty and then all the logistics and management that go along with that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
So that, I mean, that's so that, I mean, everybody who's watching, CIG, I'm sure you're in there somewhere. Think about that. So part of the problem that you're having here is not just that they're the big bad guys, right? And it's part of the reason is because what else is there to do? I mean, if because that would add. I'm waiting for that. I want to strategize around being able to disrupt supply chains, steal people's supply, and add it to ours, and build our base using their stuff. I want to do all that. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
that's part of the problem, is that this is literally like the only content that they may have,
There's
because they
no
don't.
end game
Yeah,
content is the issue.
it's part of
Yeah.
the problem. I mean,
There's
You know,
there's
that's
if
nothing to really like hone in on for like focus. I think settlements would be a big part of it, but it's not going to be enough. That's
I
still
yeah.
relying on just like items and like economy alone.
yeah. So I feel like CIG is like mad and everyone's blaming you guys, but I feel like CIG is mostly to blame. Honestly, I hate to say it,
Yeah.
but I feel like this
And
is
you know,
on you guys more than anything.
I think I think if I were to predict a response from them, it would be something they've already told us. It's like, listen, they're like, listen, we're only this hard on you because we don't have the systems in place to mitigate what you're doing in a way that we like,
Yeah.
right? That's the that would be that would be what I would predict their retort would be to all of this. But I would then but my response to that would be like, well, you got to give us something to work with then. Okay, it's not tenable to just be like, hey, GrieferNet, just stop everything you're doing. Okay, you guys like look. This is one of Dracadius's replies to me when I'm trying to ask when I'm trying to like get clarification on like, listen, like what's a compromise? What give us something to work with? He's like, listen, an event, the size of an event, we don't weigh that. If it's sponsored or approved, we don't weigh that. That has nothing to do with whether or not an event disruption has occurred. Then what is like what makes it what when does it become PvPing an event, disrupting an event? Is it when we don't ask for permission? Is it when it's unconsensual? Tell us that. Is that what it is? Do we need to ask permission first every single time? Tell us
Yeah.
that.
I
You
mean,
know?
I think honestly the best solution is for CIG to make progress, and I mean, like I get everything
without
you're
those larger
saying, but
scale
like
servers.
make some progress,
But
guys.
like I'm no, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
But in the interim, where they're not happy with the systems that they have implemented, they need to tell us this stuff so we aren't
yeah,
risking our accounts every time we do emergent PvP.
yeah. And honestly, I feel that we and other PvP communities, especially when meshing happens, has a legitimate reason to be concerned because Griefernet is not going to be the only org they're going to mass report when you ruin something. So if I happen to ruin something, I'm sure that they're going to be like, oh, let's report these guys, right? Let's like this guy ruined what we put together, even though I'm just randomly coming across it. Like it's I think it's we have a legitimate reason to be concerned in general. Like when you have this
I think it
vagueness,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it's I mean, come on.
I can think of some circumstances when I got a DM about when I was on the same stream like server as like a streamer, and got a DM from a buddy saying, "Hey, he's complaining to me about you being on there. It's because I had one of his friends on the list. We're not going to say names, obviously, but he was like, no, it's organic. He joined on me. You had a bounty. He went after your bounty. He wiped your guys, and that's the end of it. You know, that's how it should be."
Mhm.
I see people talking about the Erbazita like moment too, and that's something that kind of comes to mind too. But we can cover that if you want to.
We can cover that. I have no issues covering that. Do we
Yeah,
want
let's
to do
go back
that?
to that one then. Yeah,
Okay, sure.
because I want to avoid like situations like this. This is a good example. Yes, it was Griefernet, but what if it was just like a random org that was hunting down like random players, and then you just so happen to have a streamer in like the turret or like in one of the other parts of the party. You kill them, and then all of a sudden they say, "Hey, these guys killed me. I'm a little pissed off." And you know, in a moment of like heated emotion, tells all of his guys, "Hey, mass report them," or just like set like some sort of report, and then write this as the following. What's to prevent that from happening to anybody else? That's more my concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's get into the weeds about Herbazidia. Okay, so I have a
Yep.
video. We have a video showcasing all the occurrences that we've. So the issue is that we've encountered or killed Herbazito. Well, we've killed him 4 times in the period of 30 days. Okay.
Okay.
Um, we have a video showcasing all of the occurrences. You guys can go watch that video on Gank Hub. That's the name of the channel. I'm sorry, Comanche. Anybody who watches it, the audio mixing is awful. Okay.
It happens. It's okay.
I love you, dude, but it's awful. Anyway, um, so six play. So at the on the fourth encounter, it was a bounty hunting encounter.
Hmm.
We weren't even bounty hunting Herbazita. It was his friends, turns out. So he wasn't even on the bounty board. They were doing um, Vaughn missions around Hurston, and
Okay,
so
so
they had like a big group of bounties. Like, hey guys, there's a big group of bounties. Let's go fuck them up. And so that's what we did. So
okay,
that
so
on that
in-game
last
mechanics.
occurrence, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So bounty, and we have a video. I mean, in the Roy's guide video that Roy
Yeah, I've
made.
seen it. Hmm.
It's yeah,
I love that
it
video. Yeah, it was
shows
a good video.
yeah, it shows the segment of us in that encounter. Anyway, 6 players got suspended between 3 to 7 days, um, and 2 of them had never killed Herbazita before, um, and it was for stream sniping and harassment. I list the dates on the occurrences that we've done it. 2 of them were just for Jumptown, like July 3rd and 4th, Jumptown. One was Hurston, one was Daymar. Okay.
Um, can I just okay, so they do define what harassment as if you're jumping from server to server following somebody, right? That's
Right.
how they define it. Now, I'm gonna
Well, I don't
ask
know.
you.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's how
Different.
I think that's defined as like excessive griefing or harassment or some of that stuff.
When you go out of
Now,
your way to try and find a server with a person on it.
yeah, like if let's say you're on this guy's server and he sees you're there and he jumps to a different server and then you leave and you follow him to the next server, right? Like, and you continue to do that. So my question for you is, did you guys specifically jump onto the server knowing he's there?
To my knowledge, no. It's just we already pre-existed on that server, and then someone either saw like a group of bounties that he was a part of,
Yeah.
or saw his bounty.
Okay.
So
And
on the third and fourth, there wasn't even bounties involved. It was just he was in the general area
okay.
of Jumptown.
And I just want to highlight for people that if he does have somebody in his group that is friends with somebody in Sfer's group or Sfer, right, is group, the server the way it prioritizes which server it puts you in, it will prioritize according to whether you have a friend online, and you will end up a majority of the time on one of those servers with your friends, right? So
prioritize that
I mean, that is a feasible thing.
The issue with that is that this is during like a low point in like population. I mean, we're still kind of at that point even with
Yeah, we are.
3.24.
It's still really
So if I
bad.
like hop on a server,
plays
I
a
find
lot.
myself joining a lot of the same servers. As a good example would be like Lord Kamak.
Yeah.
He is pirating most of the time. He's pretty active in the PU. I'll end up on the same server and be like, well, here I am again. Is that intentional? No. Is that just how CIG's like current system works sometimes? Unfortunately, yes. And that does happen.
Yeah, and the guy plays a
with the
lot. He's
bounty,
played 33% of all hours in 1 month.
the guy with the bounty, did you guys recognize that name from when you had like previous bouts in like say Jumptown or any of the dates on that list? I'm just curious.
I don't know if one of my guys recognized it or not, but I
You
don't
weren't
think it really
involved in this
matters.
one
If they're different, they're
specifically,
different
or
days, you guys. They're different days.
okay?
Not the same session.
I'm just curious. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we got suspended for that, for stream sniping harassment. It's, it is what it is. CIG, I wish you guys kept this stuff in mind when you're issuing suspensions. Just because they're a streamer doesn't mean we're leveraging streams.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be fair too, I have had times when I fought somebody. King Chaos, actually, he's always streaming, and
Yep.
we jump on a server, and sometimes we end up on a server, and King Chaos, I'm gonna say is a good sport about it. Don't get me wrong, but he does sometimes feel like, because if we go to the event he's at, we're gonna attack him because we're not in the same Discord together.
If you're not in the same Discord, if you're not in the voice channel, our policy is that you're fair game. Like that's just how it
and
works.
he will feel like he's like maybe we jumped on a server with him or something, but that's not what's happening. But I will jump into, like, if somebody says, "Oh, this person's streaming," after the kill, I will jump into their stream and be like GF and stuff like that, or speak with them, right? But maybe that's a bad idea because now it'll be viewed like, oh, he was stream sniping the entire time,
I recently had that happen where we ran into someone that same night in the PTU. I hopped into his like Twitch stream and said, "Hey, good fight. Was that you in the? I think you were in the cutty earlier. Nice running into you." And then instantly, I was just banned. No questions, nothing like about that. I said, "Good fight," and it wasn't even like sarcastic. It was just trying to be like, I think it was like 5-star or something like that. I think
5-star. I think you said it was. Yeah, that guy. Oh yeah. Oh, he's one of the banned people. The first time I ran into him, he was absolutely using the invisibility bug and just kept like attacking people invisible and pretending like he didn't know.
From like this becoming a conversation
all right,
about that, but like the situation is still the same. Like
it's just ironic.
Maybe it brought up like the pretense that maybe he thought it was like stream sniping because I recognized the name, I saw it, we killed him, he pressed charges, and it was just like, you know what? Let me talk to him a little bit later and just be like, hey, good fight, and then that was the outcome, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like, look, like I have this up right here with another communications with Will. So he had, at this point he had joined the Cogum Discord, and this was in a private channel, like a council channel with just a few players, and then Will and Dracadius and Xylo had access to it.
Okay.
And he came on one day and he reprimanded me and Fisk saying that, like asking, "Hey, why am I getting reports that you guys are stream sniping on St. Patrick's Day?" I had no idea what he was talking about. I tried to rationalize it. I was like,
What? Okay,
"What
so
could
do you have any idea like what he might have been referring to? Or you like seriously were like completely
I had
taken
no
back by
idea.
that?
We
Okay.
weren't even playing on St. Patrick's Day. Like,
Mhm.
People people
I
just
have
throwing
no idea.
random reports.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
have no idea. I tried to rationalize it. I was like, well, what could it be? Like I told him, and I highlighted. I was like we're a moderately sized org with allies. We join on each other's server depending on what is called out. And like maybe one of my boys that was playing that day called out like, hey, there's someone to fuck up. Anyone would come help, and they killed the guy, and it just happened to be a streamer. Maybe that's what Will is seeing. I have no idea. I don't know if that was the case. I was just
Okay.
throwing something into the wind to see if that's what it could be. And then Will, to my surprise, he was like, he was taken aback by the statement, by the concept of friends joining on friends to do something in the game. He's like, that's explicit harassment of a player or a group of players. What?
So
Uh,
this is something that I've been noticing. This isn't just from here, but just watching some previous videos and looking at different sources for this kind of stuff about like reports and just DM conversations. It feels like a lot of the language is sometimes all over the place as far as the support team goes. I don't know if that's always the case, but it feels like there's a lot of
I would
inconsistencies
agree with
for
that.
like expectations, and that's got to be tough because you're looking at what, three different studios. I don't know if they're all in the same studio. I don't think they are though. I know a lot of them are in Austin, but there's got to be a disconnect there, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
know you're
couldn't
not
say what
CIG. I
goes
know
on
you're
in
not
the
CIG, right?
yeah,
I,
but
I know you
like
are Chris Roberts. I've seen the name tag on them, so
yeah. Oh
we'll go
wait.
over that.
Oh wait. Anyway, for those interested on what the result of this was,
Yeah,
Undercover
what
yeah,
was
boss.
it?
Dracadius messaged us like a day or two later, and then like after further investigation, we've concluded you've done nothing wrong. Like, so nothing happened. There was no like Will
This might have
came
been
at
an.
us with an
This seems like more of a
unsubstantiated claim.
misunderstanding than anything else, but they shouldn't be using DMs. This feels like. Wait, can you even access anything through Spectrum? I know you still had a ban somewhere. I saw it on your
I
profile
can't
page, right?
DM in Spectrum until ask me again in 2031.
Yep, we'll do.
Uh,
Do you still have
Sfer.
access to like support tickets and stuff like that if they
Oh
like
yeah,
send
yeah,
you
I do.
something? Okay,
They can
that's
still
what
do
I was kind of
tickets, and
wondering.
they
I've
email me.
never
They
actually
wait.
been banned in Star, so apparently not doing anything like right in that case. What is
Well, it's
this?
because we're not super evil griefers like Mr.
The Sylvan
Griefin over
case.
here.
Look, so
Um,
throughout this PowerPoint, I have like a couple of examples of like it's not really directly tied to moderation issues. It's more like what the heck is going on over there at CAG kind of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, like the Sylvan case was really weird. Sylvan was one of the passengers on the experience, the first one. He was live streaming it at the time, and when we watched the VOD after the experience was done.
Is this the guy with the like really nice smile that like
Yeah, yeah, we
okay,
did
right.
think
He just like the
we thought his
expression. I
laugh was
remember the
very
torp when it
wholesome.
first hit. It like clapped into the like the laugh. It was just
Yeah.
like it felt. I thought okay. Initially, I thought he was one of you guys like streaming. It was just that was his
No,
reaction.
no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. But we liked him so much that one of our guys that used to be with us, he used it as a as a thumbnail
You're
on his
talking about Carl,
video.
right? Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't want to say his name.
Um, not to
Cat the
not to
little
break
bag,
this
you
up, but
know.
I mean,
guys,
there's no secrets there. Yep,
just
yep,
want to
yep.
throw it out there. Please feel free to jump into the Discord and follow us on YouTube as well.
We are not taking live callers. Just a heads up as well. We are
I
going to
didn't
keep
say
that.
anything about live callers.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So
I didn't say
we
anything
don't
about
have
live
like
callers.
14 people in the like the waiting room waiting to chat or whatever.
Yeah.
But if
Oh,
you have
is
any
there?
questions, I
Is
will say
there? That's funny.
if there no there isn't. But if
Oh,
there are any questions, please redeem this. You can use this. This is just a system that really helps us keep track of all the questions as we go along. Just because the chat's going at mock Jesus right now, that's why it's even on slow mode. Even then, it's a struggle to kind of keep up.
okay.
So
Yeah.
with that being said, use that system. We'd love to answer some of your questions. If we go a little bit further, we're almost like 2 hours in. We should probably move on a little bit here, but You're talking about Sylvan continued. I'm sorry to
Yeah,
cut
so
you off
just real
there.
quick. So Sylvan, yeah, so Carl made a video about the experience using his face on the thumbnail because we thought it was a nice reaction.
Yep.
And Sylvan, he was very concerned. Like he was speaking in his own Discord. He was very concerned that he was gonna get in trouble for that for some reason. And then he DM'd Carl as like an employee of the company to a customer to ask him to modify his YouTube content because for like to prevent professional issues at his place of work, which I thought that was kind of weird. I'm like, CIG, why would this guy be afraid of that? I don't know. So that's just weird. It's not really not much to do with the moderation, but
Yeah, I
um,
gotcha.
yeah. And then there's like the Mammon incident. Mammon's kind of like the EU Griefernet. Some people say they operate a lot much the same as we do in terms of crashing events and stuff.
How come
They've
I
been
never
getting
hear
very
about them?
because they're on the other side of the sea
So,
from us. I don't
EU,
know.
completely
You would
different
hear
like
less of that
region.
community just naturally. But
okay,
Okay.
yeah.
anyway, um,
I'm gonna kind of
they,
shuffle the topic a little bit though.
yeah,
After you talk about this, we'll wrap
Hold
up with
on.
the mammon, and then I kind of want to talk about some different things, if that's cool with you.
yeah,
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 What
yeah.
did you want to say?
I do want to, because I don't want to be missing all the questions, right? So we do have a question from, I don't know how to say
We
the
can we
entire
can we can
Tondo.
see that later. We actually have the option to go through like a queue list. That's why we
Okay.
use that.
Oh,
So
okay.
it
All
will
right.
be, yeah,
I'm
it
not a
won't get like
familiar.
flooded out.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So just real quick to wrap this Mammon thing up, it's real fast.
that's all good.
They've been getting hit with excessive griefing throughout 2024. It got to the point where they were like super desperate, like they wanted to try to mitigate bans as much as possible for just playing the game. And so they
Okay.
messaged Nikau or Nassau or however you pronounce his name, which is like the EU support rep over there. And they were like, "Hey, just to let you know, we're gonna hit this event, but we're not gonna use any streams. We're doing it through infiltration, and here's like proof." And then and then turns out, and then Nikau just like turned around and like told the targeted org what they were gonna do. Very weird behavior. Like,
That is very weird behavior. Like, what is that? Like, you
yeah,
guys can't allow, so you can't allow the game to like just be the game and like let people. I don't know. That's weird. It would be strange if again, if they had supply and demand, and I was like, oh, we're gonna hit the supply chain, and then CIG let our enemy know they're gonna hit the supply chain. Like that would just be so weird. That's a strange thing to do. That is very strange.
yeah,
Like give them a warning.
it was really weird. It was really weird.
What does that
Anyway,
tell
we
you
can,
about the CIG freaking developers though? I'm surprised they even let PvP at all because it seems to me that they are not even for it themselves at this point.
yeah, it doesn't seem like they like it too much.
No.
At least the kind that don't like where they don't like any sandbox PvP. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
We can take this question. This is actually a real good one. From Heimdall. Let me bring that up.
Ty
He
Hondo?
asks,
I have it
yeah,
here. I can read that.
yeah.
Sfer
Why don't you go ahead and
mentioned
do that?
earlier that they don't utilize stream sniping, but members might independently. If a member stream snipes and relays information to Griefernet comms, how do they respond to that? Is it just not sanctioned, not our problem on a leadership level? Because if we totally didn't know it was a rogue member, is the excuse, then that sets a bad precedence.
that's why I say it just gets too deep in the mud with stuff like that. That's why CIG needs to be hands off.
Okay.
That would be my response to that. They need
Okay.
to be hands off.
Okay.
And then and it's the streamer's responsibility to protect themselves. That would be my
Okay.
response to that.
So here's we're going to move on to the next section. What systems could be implemented to reduce moderation workload and improve an organic player experience? I'm talking like what could we do to have that hands-off environment while still maintaining some sort of system that is, somewhat balanced. I'm just curious. Do you have any ideas? I have a list here. I could go over a couple. The first one we've already like brought up multiple times, and I think even the last show we were talking about this. Clear and concise code of conduct, and terms of service all in one location are the biggest part, I feel, because we have the main code of conduct, which doesn't really cover a lot, which I wish it had more. The other part that I really don't like is that it's segmented between a couple of, different posts by, I think, just Silo, right? So we had the main one, which is the Spectrum post here, and then I'll post the other one, which is a reply to Sill. So it's not even like an official post that is like the headline of it. It's more of a comment on a post to kind of clarify. And it doesn't really even clarify it. It's even more vague as the language behind it's just not super clear. That's the issue that I have with it.
Oh, this is the Sill. I see.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
Sill one.
This is the one where we did the podcast on. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of the, that was the issue that we had to begin with, was that even though we all like the all the other orgs, I mean, realistically, I think GrieferNet is really unique in what they do, right? Because we all pretty much don't target events and stuff like that. But we have the concern, right? Because it's like, oh, here's a vagueness. We can decide that this is excessive griefing. Then you have the, so yeah, that's what this is really just kind of centered around, is
It's
that
a hard
concern.
problem to tackle because it's such a cultural issue now in terms of like the player community.
Yeah,
Because now it's gone to the point where what GrieferNet does is reportable to these people, like to the
yeah,
players that we attack. It's
because they don't like it.
reportable simply by the virtue of us being there.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all
pretty
that needs
much.
to
Yeah, I
happen.
mean,
It's just us
yeah.
being there. You know.
Here's
Um,
my other thing. So why is it? Because is it just me? Maybe it's just me, but it seems like CIG is definitely is getting more. They're really like tightening the noose or something, right?
oh
They're
yeah.
getting so. What is going on there? Like, what is the concern? Because is it they're afraid that you're actually killing gameplay, like in there's going to be less people willing to play as a result, or because from my experience, from what I can tell, that's not the case. I mean, you guys have existed, done these things, and it never killed gameplay in the past. In fact, I would say if they want to ban anyone, they should ban master modes, because that seems to
if
be killing
only if
gameplay the
only
most.
Master Modes was a person, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, is that the
Totally.
concern? Like, is this just like a knee jerk reaction to try to like, oh, we don't want to scare people away, and Griefernet is the bad guy, right?
You're the
You
boogeyman
know?
of the verse at that point. I mean, you could type GrieferNet victory into a server, and there's a handful of people that will just
Yeah.
legitimately log
We
off.
actually do that. If we need one of our guys to get into a full server, we'll
You
type
aren't the first
Griefernet
people to
victory
tell me
into
that.
the
They're just
yeah, into the global, and people will drop out and our guy will get right
it's
in.
it's no
Yeah.
longer 30. It's no longer 30K. It's just GrieferNet victory now.
Pretty much, yeah. So do you think they could replace the, I don't know, instead of having 30-day bans, could they put you into like a max security like prison cell in the verse and have it be the most difficult way to get out of the, like, like game? Do you think if they had like systems like that in place and like proper wanted levels and all that, do you think that could be better? I don't know. What do
Dude,
you
I
think?
would be
That's a lot of
okay
theory
with
crafting.
anything, with any sort of in-game solution that they want to make. I would jump through so many hoops.
I would rather have
However many
that.
hoops they want us to jump through, I will do it, and I will be happy to do it because it's better than being banned.
Hmm.
Okay?
So you're saying the biggest issue you have realistically is that they just don't give you any clear definition, and that continues to be the problem.
Yeah, they don't give us they don't give us anything to work with, and I'm not gonna like just stop playing the game, which is what they want us to do. So
Okay, can I ask you this? When you guys get a ban, are you surprised?
right currently, well, we're
Yeah,
so
like does it surprise you? Does it shock
Or do
you?
you just like accept the consequences of what's already happened?
like yes and no, right? Since we've received it before, we're not surprised in that fact, like in that
Yeah.
matter. But yes, as in like this, especially this latest occurrence, like beyond Zia, they need to unban us for that. That's ridiculous. There was no harassment. We hit them once. How could it be harassment? We stayed at Miner's Lament. We let them come to us. How is that harassment? No streams were leveraged. It was infiltration, which is allowed explicitly. and
Yeah.
told to us multiple times by Xylo, by RSI, and by Dracadius.
So is the
Okay,
message here that you're well just can't exist?
that's what it seems like they're trying to tell us, man. And it sucks because we're really utilizing their game to its fullest potential currently in life, in my opinion.
So the question is, given the current trend where the bans have been a little bit longer and longer each time. Last time it was a week, right? This time it was a month. Do you think
Yeah.
that's going to continue to grow to like a larger length?
I don't know.
Given the
I'm hoping this
that's
podcast will enact some change, maybe.
So my impression, I mean, other than if this makes any difference here, but my impression is that they're making a statement. They're saying first ban 7 days, second 30, next ban
2 months, 3 months,
extended.
maybe
Yeah, and the ban, what they're doing is they're progressively building some form of a case to say at some point we're going to remove you from the
just
game
perma ban
altogether.
at that point.
Yeah,
Not
That's what I was
quite. It
wondering too.
hasn't. It hasn't progressed that way
Okay,
quite like that. Like we've had
okay.
shorter. We've had short bans followed by like following long bans. Like
Um,
um.
yeah, okay.
So I don't know.
Stop hitting charity events for dogs. Have you ever had the fear that John Wick is going to come after you? Sorry.
Guys, the charity thing only happened once, and I don't feel bad about it. It's content, okay?
okay.
So
This might be more directed toward like PvP and not so much like moderation. But do you think that CIG needs to paint a clear picture of the image when you leave your hab or your hangar in the verse? That is when you first sign up for PvP. Do you think they do a good enough job of doing that, or does that need to be pushed a little bit more? Because it is an open sandbox universe,
I think they
and
need to
PvP
do
is
a
going to
lot more
happen.
I think they need to do a lot if they want this sandbox PvP element to exist, which currently doesn't seem like they want it to. But if they do want it to exist, they need to communicate that to the rest of the player base because currently that is not what the player base thinks. The player base thinks that the best way to secure themselves from unconsensual PvP is to report people, and it's working for them.
Yeah, I mean, and you get a lot of like these spectrum posts about like PvP sliders and stuff like that, but like realistically, the vision, and I'm not even
It feels
joking.
like
I know it's funny, but
we might
I'm
be
not
going
even
down that
joking.
route.
Like that's what
Yeah,
like people want to see. I mean, we've come up with solutions, right? It's not on us that they haven't gotten far enough in development to have any of these solutions, but we come up with solutions like high security, medium security, no low security, no security systems, right? Risk and reward, things like that. Um, like PvP, the PvP slider should be high risk, high reward, or low risk, low reward, right? Realistically, that's the slider. I mean, it's been verbalized that it's supposed to be a dangerous game, right? You're not just supposed to be in a, wrapped in bubble wrap and be able to fly along safely. Like they literally had a whole freaking patch that basically was the pirate's wet dream, and that's physicalized cargo. If they didn't want some sort of PvP in pirating, then there would be no need for physicalized cargo, right? So sorry to those who don't like it, but like PvP is meant to be part of the game.
it's here to stay too. You know,
Yeah, I mean it
that's the
is.
reality of it.
Although it seems this is the impression I'm getting. I'm sorry to take over, but the
That's fine. It's
impression
fine.
I'm
Go
also
for it.
getting is that what you have is you have the overall like view of what like Chris Roberts or and whoever else maybe he works with, I don't know, that he wants this to be this way, right? And then you have higher ups within the company that don't actually like that, so that they're trying to limit it as in do these things as much as possible because they don't like the idea. They're the PvE players. That's the impression I get. I don't know. I could be way off base with that,
No,
but
I think it's what we need. The first thing they need to do is they need to create like a base sandbox game that utilizes, PvP as like the solid, foundation to stand on. Because once you found like build that foundation, everything else can work around it. Because, conflict is going to be a natural part of the verse. Look at EVE Online, it's constantly happening. You're seeing like org wars and everything else. And
Yeah.
eventually, once we get those numbers, we need that here too. It's
Yeah.
just the reality of it.
I mean, if you want,
yeah.
I'm sorry, one more comment. If you guys want, if CIG really wants to help the PvE community, you guys need to start putting some effort into actually creating those in-game safeguards, the things that you've been promising. I mean, that's the real way to
Create
do it.
automated systems is what they
Yeah,
need.
and
If they're
we're not
gonna like,
against it. We're not
right,
against it. We want it to be difficult. We don't want this like super easy free for all. We
right,
want challenge. You know what I mean? So I'm not against that stuff. It's put it there, work on it, develop it. You know, like that needs to
right.
happen. All right, go ahead. Please.
No, it's fine. I was gonna say what we need is we need, that in the first place, be more hands off, because right now it feels like we're getting a little bit of overreach with a lot of stuff that we've been seeing. Whether it be how they deal with situations like golden tickets. That's a completely different story. But like how they handle armistice, create systems that don't create like arguments in the first place. Make it so
Yeah.
that automated turrets are firing at like ships if someone's trying to like steal cargo from my SCD-1 or something like that. It needs to be like that.
Yeah.
We need clear and concise rules. We need to make sure that there is some sort of system where, like, say someone is streaming, they have a way to be anonymous. And that should be a matter of not having the comms list the way it is. It's just a poor system. You should be able to just search a name and then see if you can add them. You already have like systems implemented where you can hide like party invite indicators, friend request indicators. That should also be included,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
from there, that I don't know. That
Yeah.
that would be what I would do
Yeah,
personally.
and I want to jump on this as well. And like the reason why I'm so critical CIG is because realistically, I love the game and I love what you guys are doing,
Yep.
and I want to see it succeed. And it's like it's literally like what I dreamed of as a kid, for a game, right? And I want it to all come together. Like, and
Yeah.
if there was any way, honestly, the PvP community, and I'm sure you guys know, you guys like in Shadow Moses Discord, you guys are in communication with them, stuff like that. Like we're not over here saying, oh, it should just be some easy free for all for us. Like I'd be willing to give my input on what I think. So some things you could do, and that would actually help PvEers and make things challenging for us because I want the challenge, So like for constructive criticism, right? I realistically I get passionate because I care about the game, and sometimes we get disappointed, right? So.
I do have a couple questions if I can bring these up. This one is from Expat. What is Sfer's view on the out of game post grief harassment in Discord and video content? What is its purpose within the realms of this game? Is that classified as PvP? Now I got one from Heavy Bob after this.
Oh, she's asking what are
What is?
she,
I'll
she
reread it
yeah,
if that's
so
okay.
there's an issue with us like making videos after the fact.
Well, okay. So what is it? So she says your view on out of game post grief harassment in Discord and video content. Like, what is the perp?
What
What
is
is
the
its
purpose?
purpose?
Is it
A little
propaganda or
poisoning the
like?
well there, expat, because I wouldn't call that post grief harassment. It's just
So
we
what is
make
it then?
video content because it's funny, it's fun, it's entertaining.
Yeah,
About the
I would.
stuff that we do.
Yeah.
And in fact, I mean, let's just go back. If I want to cite sources here, okay, uh, he wants us to do that. CIG would rather us do it in people's discords anyway instead of in global chat. So,
Yeah, good point. That's funny.
so yeah,
Okay.
I have no issues with the videos. I don't know why anybody would. That I mean, like boasting videos for bravado and stuff like that. That's been That's been like an element of PvP since time immemorial, since the first player killed another player. You
Hmm.
know. Um,
Here's a question from Heavy Bob. I'm gonna kind of like speed run this a little bit, but I do like where our focus is right now. Thank you for the answer. Thank you, Expat, for asking. The next question is: when did Griefernet learn about the ANZIA racing event? Was it the before this week in Star Citizen or after?
yeah. So let's go back to that because I have it right here.
Or
So
this week inside Star Citizen? That's what it is.
yeah. So it turns out this event was spotlighted on RSI website. We didn't know that until after the fact. Uh, but as Dracadius told us, it doesn't matter if something's sponsored. But anyway, we knew
Okay.
about it on the 14th. You'll see the time date right here on the screenshot of we're gonna burn it in here, but it's whatever.
Hmm.
It was this was our infiltration vector for this event. We knew this was existing on the 14th. Okay,
Okay.
we were in on their security orgs, right? The spotlight announcement happened on the 19th, so we knew about this before it was ever spotlighted. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to? I'll jump on another question.
Yeah, let's do that.
We got one from Z. Z, why are they trying to rewrite a wheel when they have a car, a
A
game
game
on
on cinder
cinder
blocks.
blocks? Yeah,
Yep.
they could just look at systems in other games and implement them as a baseline and innovate on them
I wish
later.
they would do that more, man. I wish they would be the world like I wish they would just take a lot like there's so many elements from EVE Online that I just want copy pasted. It's not even funny.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know
There were
what?
so many things that they could be utilizing from that
It's funny
as like
that
a base.
Z's saying that too, because I was talking about that the other day. It's like I understand like he wants it to be his own unique thing, but there's some things that just work. And realistically,
Yep.
you don't have to reinvent the wheel on everything. Like you can take things from previous games. Like what are you gonna do? Like, is somebody gonna come out with an MMO, right? And that takes place in Renaissance area, and be like, we can't use orgs and trolls because those have been used in the past. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
some things you can reuse, and I agree with that. Like, stop trying to
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel.
I
Like
mean,
some of the stuff.
the inventory system at 324 is a case study of like reinventing the wheel. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
so
Like it's not
like
It feels
necessary.
more like it's a placeholder system until we get like lockers as far as, and I mean, the entire damn game is a
As a
placeholder. Don't get me
placeholder,
wrong,
yeah.
but what I'm trying to say
wait,
is that it's a
they're gonna redo
placeholder
the
for a new
inventory
system.
again?
I would assume so. They have like
Oh,
lockers that
man.
at some point they'll probably do. I would rather have just a physicalized locker that I just interact with, and boom, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean they've been
Next question though.
developing. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna throw. They've been
Yep.
developing the actual movement of you in action of you taking your helmet and physically putting it on your head. So, like, that's cool, but like it's a bit much. And honestly, I could do without that development. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Next question says, does it seem like there's been a change in stance on PvP in game from their original plan? If yes, what do you think changed?
I think so.
It
I
does
mean,
feel like the era about that has kind of shifted a little bit. I do agree. What
yeah.
exactly? I can't really put my finger on it though.
I don't know. We didn't have any of these issues last year, and now we are this year.
It feels like
You
they've
know.
gotten softer. I think this is what I think. I think that the change is that they've shifted their view from like a passion project to a corporate conglomerate type.
Corporate
Make
identity.
as yeah, try to get as many people in this game and just kind of like, you know, I think Massimo is an example of that. We're trying to make everything so
Yeah.
everyone will want to come in and play and have as many players in there. I think it's changed, and I think it's a result
Here's
of
what
trying to
here's what
get
I
through a
think.
mess. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that in general. Here's what I think specifically. They are sacrificing the spirit of their game
Mm-hmm.
for quote unquote a good experience, and to them that means people um not having negative emotion.
Yeah, and you know what's ironic about that is it's having it. So they've been massively successful in the past with almost no advertising, right? And since they've that shift from what I can tell is happening, it's actually started falling off. And I don't think that's just a result of poor development or bugs because the bugs have always been an issue, right? I think it's a result of them trying to like make it more of a mass marketable game and they're not doing it right. I think so. I
Just to
agree.
kind of
Yeah.
add on to that, it looks like Murph had asked, do you think they are circling to keep cash flowing into the project as a whole? To some extent, it does kind of give off that when you have events like the F8C in the F7 like A marketing, the like just the way those were driven feels almost like an act of desperation, but I can't, confirm that. That's the personal take on that one.
Yeah, I don't
But yeah.
know. I mean, it kind of gets into
Mhm.
tinfoil after a while.
Yeah,
But
yeah. A lot of theory crafting over there.
We have a few more. Let me just see if we can
Yep.
just get through these. The bearded blink said, "It sounds like you use EVE Online as a sandbox PvP metric to shoot for. Would you say some of the other EVE systems would be beneficial too? For instance, kill mails and other character reputation tracking for OPSEC."
For OPSEC.
Oh my
I
God, I
do
would let's
100%.
list off for an hour here. I want the pros. I want
I was
the
gonna
whole
say, yeah.
player economy. I want the manufacturing. I want the planetary, the planetary
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing that they do. All the sort of mining mechanics, the blops, dude. Oh my God, the Sino mechanics. Like I want so much of it, and I also want stuff from Elite Dangerous. Like guys, you know how cool it would be if we had Elite Dangerous's super cruise mechanics and interdiction mechanics.
Yeah,
Think of
that was
how
one of the
Hell yeah.
think
things.
of
Yep.
how think of how alive this
Like a
a
proper skill
system could
based like
feel
mechanic.
if you
Mm-hmm.
saw ships physically traversing between the celestial bodies, and that you're actively hunting towards that instead of just sitting there with the bubble up and just hoping someone crosses your path and you have no idea if that's ever going to happen. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah, I
That'd be
agree.
amazing.
That's just
Um,
so
and
much
I
more
wanna, I oh sorry, I was gonna say I
yeah,
want
go
to
ahead,
jump
Tyler.
on the Eve Online thing too. I think Eve and also Elite Dangerous is a good example that I know like you want to reach a mass player base, right? But I think those two are good examples of what keeps the game alive. And the
Yep.
PvPers keep the games going. They don't go away because they like the challenge, right? Like so like I know people are like, "Oh, you're only like 1% of the community," but at the same time, it's like I've been in Elite Dangerous and the PvP community is rather freaking strong there and is sticking around and like an Eve obviously, right? Like so don't like you want the game to last, you want longevity as well, right? You got to balance that more. You can't just keep all the PvEers happy.
Here's a question from Kisiman. He says, my experience with Griefer until recently has been mostly negative, but do they consider camping over planet side actual PvP? Honest question.
Camping
Um,
over planet side? Camping
Planet side,
what?
maybe like camping certain locations. I'm thinking probably, good example would be staking out a certain location to try and capture a player. I would
Oh,
say
I mean,
yes.
I mean, ca like I mean, camping is the go-to for most every PvPer right now because there's no tools for us to go look for players.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Yep,
one.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. All
Yeah,
ones.
realistically.
So, like,
Um
as like it or not, camping is just what we have to do to get our gameplay.
Oh,
Yep.
here's a good one. Expat. I think this is a fair question. Without compromising your org strategy, what are some things that events could do to protect themselves in both Discord and game from attack? Any tips or tricks from the man himself?
It's a really good question.
That is a good question. You want to throw him something?
You want some trade secrets?
Oh, here it is.
How much are you offering? No, so,
Hey, how many credits are you gonna offer?
no. If I were to say, I'll say one thing. If I were to say one thing, it would be compartmentalize.
Okay, that's actually a really good tip. Honestly, come to
Yep.
think of it, honestly, that guy I could do a lot with that personally. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
solid tip.
Here's
Okay.
another question from Expat. Griefernet have likely been successful in unearthing certain mechanics that can be used against players that many may not know about. Does Griefernet actively contribute to educating CIG in these things using the bug reporting system to help the community? So, if, like, say there's an exploit or bug that you use repeatedly, are you using like the issue console reports to make sure that it's fixed in like later patches? Is I
Yeah,
think the question
as a
there.
whole, that's not our focus, but I'm sure there are some individuals that have done that.
Okay.
I know our one of our members, Griefer One, has done quite a few issue council reports and
Okay.
reporting bugs and stuff to CIG. But as a whole, we don't focus on that. We're here for our enjoyment.
Sure. Yep, that's fair. It's enough time spent on a broken, alpha to put that much more, effort into it.
Yeah,
All right.
for
Good
sure.
answer.
Um, so I kind of want to pivot to something a little bit more
Let's hear
positive.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
here are some things that I have noticed that we really appreciate, and it's kind of like the spice of life that we want to see in the game. And like big, and it's gonna be a meme. It's gonna be funny because we meme this guy all the time. Pretty much the whole PvP community. Our boy Enigma from ITC. Okay, that guy is a man, we've crushed those guys so many times. So many orgs have crushed these guys over and over and over. But man, they are resilient. If I gotta give them props, they are a resilient bunch. They come back over and over and over. I haven't had any issues with them reporting. I don't think they do any reporting, which is awesome. They have Enigma has gone out and formed like try to form like an alliance and like an intel network with other like-minded orgs of his kind, like a lawful orgs.
Yep.
Great to see. I love that, dude. Um, and like there's other orgs, like any other org that doesn't do reporting, basically, and they're trying to use in-game ways to mitigate the main antagonist that is Griefernet. You know,
Yep.
that Ashen Initiative. They're not really. I mean, we're friendly with Ashen Initiative for the most part. Spec Snipers. We don't really like the guy. I don't know if he does any reporting, but if he doesn't, props to him. Vex from Spectre Security Contracting. I don't think he does any reporting. Um, and like any of the other, we've hit so many orgs. Like we've hit like 32 events we've crashed since the experience back in late January,
Yep.
and only now, recently in this last week, has the 31st event has caused a ban. So,
So as far
um,
as like ratios go, it seems like the mass reporting is kind of still in the minority, correct? Like 2 events
yeah,
out
but when it
of
happens, it's a big issue.
like when it rains,
30
it actually
days for
storms,
28
right?
people, it's
So
ridiculous.
30 is the limit. Can I just highlight what you said? So using in-game mechanics and finding a way to fight back rather than just reporting because it hurts your feelings.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Just
realistically,
just because your security
like
fails does
that's
not mean,
cool. Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool.
Because your
That's really
That's
security
cool. Like,
fails
yeah,
does not give
yeah.
you the ethical high ground to mass report people. You
yeah.
know.
Oh, we're in ads
That's
again.
really cool that they're doing that. Yeah, we're on ads.
Um, Personally, I would rather have this is a highlighted section in the transcript, but I would rather have that hands-off approach that we're talking about, where even Xylo said, a PvP solution to in-game conflict should be the way you reach a
I
resolution.
wish what they said would
I
actually be
wish that
what
were the
was the
case.
case
I
in
know,
reality, though.
but I would rather have that kind of hands-off environment. MO2 does it. I know that it has its problems, but I feel like I'd rather be dealing with that than dealing with, issues with moderation and support teams. You know what I mean?
Can
Where
I
it
just
crosses over into the
uh,
IRL.
Yeah,
evidence we
yeah.
don't moderate? Could have played ads during your intermission, you dumb. Yeah. Fair point. Sorry, I
I,
found
I
that
just
funny.
It's
we're
all good.
kind of reaching the end of these slides here, but the
Yeah.
one point I
It's all
want to
good.
make is like people say, "Oh, you have a reputation, Griefernet, so therefore you are justified in having your account access taken away." I feel like that's such a bad view to look at how what do you like. Here's what reputation should cost Griefernet. It should be social consequences. Like it should be like it's harder to form a relationship with other orgs, or it's harder to do business. It shouldn't mean to the community or CAG
It should
that,
be impacted by in-game consequences as
yeah, not
opposed
it
to,
shouldn't
Yeah.
mean
yeah.
to people like, oh well, they're just free game to report, and it shouldn't mean to CAG where they just don't do a thorough job in investigating if something was
Hmm.
actually rule breaking or not. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. My opinion
So
on it is you're right. I don't think just because you have a reputation is grounds for a banning, but I do view it as like at the same time you can't be surprised because you have a reputation. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know
Kind
what I
of
mean?
like
Like,
it,
I'm
it
not
is
saying
it
kind
it's
can
of that
make,
right.
whole
Yeah, I'm not saying
you
it's
made your
right.
bed and laying in it kind of, situation.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, oh,
Yeah.
big shock. You know what I mean? When you say that you got banned, I'm not surprised by it. You
I
know,
mean, or
Well,
right, but there's not being surprised, and there's like
it being
actually
right.
being
Yeah,
banned. It's still not right just because we're not surprised that it happened. We're not surprised that we're the bad guys and people think we're the bad guys and don't like the bad guys. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that's the image we want to cultivate. We are we're the terrorists of Stanton.
I do
yeah.
have another
So
podcast question. I play Rust, so I know what it feels like and have enjoyed ruining some days with some people, despite what many think I enjoy PvP, but even I know when enough is enough. Have there been instances of internal moderation by the org to crack down on individuals you may have felt went over the line? is there moderation internally in the org or Griefernet?
Oh, yes. Over the last 2 years, especially, I've been cutting down on people's certain behavior. Because there were individuals that were doing a little bit too much, and I didn't like it. Which
Okay.
was uh, anything pad ramming, hanger killing. We've stopped those entirely, and they get their ass chewed out when they do it, and I find out. Um, and um, any fucking around with people in hard armistice. We don't mess with people in hard armistice. There have
Okay.
been events that have come to my attention that are like my guys are like, hey, we could play around with that. We could kind of goof around with that event, and it's like hard armistice. It's all gonna be a hard armistice, and I'm like, no, Ito, we're not doing that. We're not fucking around in hard armistice. We're gonna avoid that. Because
Okay, so soft armistice is fair game though, right? Aside
oh
from like
yeah,
pad ramming. Okay.
weapons free. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. The
so
moment you leave that hangar, it's fair game.
yeah.
I
As
feel
far
like
as I'm
people are going to be
concerned,
shocked to hear this and be like, wait a minute. So you guys don't just have no emotion and ruthless killing in your minds and you actually have some rules? No way.
Right. There's
yeah.
some like,
Yeah.
order
I'm not gonna
like
lie, guys. There have been
mhm.
individuals in my org that have stream sniped a lot individually, and we've cut
Yeah.
down. I've cut down on that a lot.
I can attest to that. I've seen, because I've known you for I think a year or two now, and I have seen people get pushed out of the org or things have happened. He's definitely not lying. Like if there's one thing about Sfer I
Okay.
could say, he's not a liar. He's an asshole,
Yeah.
but he's not a liar.
Yeah.
Do we have
So,
it? Oh, go ahead.
oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Go ahead. I wasn't gonna say anything.
Oh, I was just
Okay.
gonna say we probably should start wrapping it up, if anything.
We should, yeah. So I was
Yeah.
gonna say
Do we have more to go before we do that? Like, do you have
no, I think
something
we're at a
else?
good point. I think we came to a conclusion that the issues are the underlying ones from before.
The
I've
CIG?
reached
Yeah,
out
that's the issue.
to some of the members from the team in like DMs to see if we could have like an active conversation. Sadly, they never got back to us. And, I understand that there was like a time you were talking about this for where they're cutting back on their Discord presence because there was a little bit of like IRL, like, or probably like like job issues.
Yeah. The CIG was not
Right.
satisfied with their community outreach to our side of the
Okay.
field. Um,
Sure.
due to various reasons. Like there's animosity in the community due to how they have treated us. Um,
I wonder if they're
which I
trying to dial that back just slightly. I'm thinking from like a professional standpoint, maybe that is more damage control, trying to make sure that, they're upholding themselves to a standard. If there's going to be any communications that needs to be through official lines, so there's no miscommunications or no like issues, right? That might be the case.
yeah yeah
So,
I don't know. I just
elder.
it sucks. It sucks that the game has
Hmm.
so much potential, and I feel like we're really living that potential of the game right now. Griefernet is, and
Yeah.
we're being punished for it. And if I were to end this stream on anything, I would say fucking unban us. It's just ridiculous, guys.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Okay. With that being said, we are going to call it there, guys. Tonight's episode will be on YouTube tomorrow. So please make sure that you go over there, subscribe, check it out. We'll be posting that at about noon tomorrow. And if you guys haven't joined the Discord, you can pop over there.
Yeah, please jump into Discord. Also join, subscribe on YouTube.
Yep.
Check out the YouTube.
So if you guys have any recommendations for someone that we could go raid, let us know and we'll send you over that way. With that being said, we are going to go back and we'll catch you later. So again,
right.
Thank you, Sfer, for joining us. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks
And
for having
it
us
was,
on.
it
I
was a
know
really
there's
good
not,
conversation.
Yeah, dude.
Enjoy
Thank you
it.
so much, man. And yeah,
I hope
I feel
okay.
special because Fer don't typically do this stuff. So
No, he doesn't.
hell yeah.
I was gonna say, hopefully the 28-day vacation goes okay from Star Citizen.
20. I've been in
Yeah.
Elite Dangerous, so if you want to join, Sfer, you can
There you
feel free to join me.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
I'm gonna start playing that more. Actually, not gonna lie.
It's fun, man. I've been enjoying it. But with that, yeah, guys, have a good night. Feel free to jump into the Discord, subscribe to YouTube, and have a good night.